Beneath the surface of everyday life in Bulgaria lies an ancient and mystical world, humming with tales of creatures and spirits who have roamed its forests, mountains, and rivers for thousands of years. Bulgaria's mythology is more than just stories, it's a reflection of a rich and vibrant past, where the natural world was intertwined with the supernatural. Each legend, every whispered tale, comes from a time when people saw the universe as a place filled with magical forces both to fear and respect. At the heart of Bulgarian folklore are two powerful influences, Slavic and Thracian beliefs. The Slavs and the Thracians, two ancient cultures that once thrived in the lands of Bulgaria, shaped its mythology, creating a fusion of gods, spirits, and mythical creatures that are still spoken of today. These weren't just abstract beliefs, they were part of life itself. The stories didn't stay confined to myths, they moved into the fields, the forests, and the very homes where families gathered around their fires. Every region, every village, had its own variations of these tales, colored by local customs and shaped by the land itself. From the towering Balkan mountains to the vast fields of Thrace, each setting seemed to call for its own cast of magical beings. Slavic roots in Bulgarian folklore are a powerful force, resonating with the ancient Slavic people's respect for nature, mystery, and the spirit world. The Slavs believed in a world that was alive and sacred, with spirits that inhabited everything from towering trees to bubbling rivers. To the Slavs, the natural world was teeming with unseen forces. The rustling of leaves in a dark forest, the shimmer of water in a hidden spring, or the howl of the wind across mountain passes could be hints of spirits, either warning or welcoming those who ventured close. These spirits had names, personalities, and intentions, some good, some malicious, and some simply unpredictable. Bulgarian folklore inherited the Slavic belief in supernatural creatures, beings that existed outside the boundaries of human understanding. There were benevolent spirits who could bring good fortune if respected, and dark ones who lurked in shadows, waiting to cause harm. This duality, the kindness and cruelty of nature, came to be symbolized in the many mythical beings that Bulgarians came to know and fear. Even today, one can feel a hint of that ancient wariness when wandering through Bulgaria's dense forests or crossing a foggy field at dusk. The Thracians, another ancient people of the Balkans, brought their own mystical beliefs, which left an enduring mark on Bulgarian mythology. Thracian culture was deeply spiritual, filled with rites and ceremonies meant to honor and appease the gods and spirits of nature. Thracian myths were often intense and fierce, rooted in the belief that the world was a place of untamed energy and powerful forces. Many Thracian rituals celebrated warriors and chieftains as larger-than-life figures, almost godlike, and their deeds were passed down through generations. To the Thracians, courage and strength were vital, not just to survive, but to honor the gods who watched over them. And so, Bulgarian folklore is filled with tales of heroic battles and fearsome creatures that challenge the brave, blending Thracian ideas of valor with the Slavic belief in the spirit world. One of the unique things about Bulgarian mythology is how closely it has held onto its roots, even as history moved on and the world changed. Throughout centuries of foreign rule and the spread of new religions, Bulgarians clung to their ancient beliefs, blending them with newer ideas in ways that only added to the richness of the folklore. Each story grew, becoming a tapestry of history, beliefs, and emotions, capturing the spirit of Bulgaria's past while adapting to the present. When Christianity arrived in Bulgaria, rather than erasing these old beliefs, it wove itself into the myths, creating a unique blend of Christian saints and pagan spirits. Some villagers might pray to St. George for protection, yet still leave offerings for the spirits of the land, hoping to avoid their wrath. It's hard not to feel a shiver when hearing tales of Bulgaria's mythical creatures. There are dragons known as zmays, proud and fierce, who guard the mountains and rivers. But unlike Western dragons, these zmays were often protectors, complex beings capable of good or evil, depending on how they were treated. And then there are the Samodiva, beautiful yet dangerous forest spirits who dance under the moonlight, tempting mortals into their world. People believe they bring both blessings and curses, making them both feared and respected. Some say the Samodiva can even choose a mortal husband, though the price of their love is often too high. Bulgarian legends are filled with spirits of the household and the wild, like the tsum, a ghostly presence that watches over homes or haunts abandoned places. It's said that a tsum can protect a family if treated kindly, but anger it, and it may wreak havoc. There's a belief that in every corner of the land, there is a presence, a being from the old world still lingering. Many Bulgarians hold a quiet respect for these tales, knowing that tradition is alive in every village ritual and every folklore festival. Some say that even now, when a person walks alone in the countryside or feels a chill in a darkened room, they are in the presence of these ancient spirits, still watching, still waiting. One of the most captivating aspects of Bulgarian folklore is the connection it fosters between people and their homeland. In a world that often seems unpredictable and vast, these stories bring a sense of belonging, a reminder that Bulgaria's land and its people are united by something timeless. Every mountain peak, every forest path, every old, creaking house becomes more than a place. It becomes a setting for legends, a home for spirits that only the locals truly understand. This connection is not just about fear or reverence, it's about love for a land that has seen generations live, fight, and die, a land that has shaped and protected its people just as they have shaped its myths. Bulgaria's folklore holds onto the ancient and the mysterious with a firm grip, refusing to let go of its mythical past. These stories are not merely things of the past, they are alive in the present, retold by elders around fires, whispered by parents to children, and celebrated in festivals across the country. In the quiet villages of Bulgaria, the presence of mythical creatures is felt in everyday life, a gentle reminder of a world beyond our own. These beings, born of folklore and passed down through centuries, have become woven into the fabric of Bulgarian culture. To many, they are more than stories, they are guardians, spirits, and sometimes even protectors. In the lives of the people, mythical creatures occupy a place of respect, mingling with traditions, rituals, and celebrations in ways that touch the heart and stir the soul. Every morning, as sunlight spills over the mountains and valleys, there's a sense of reverence for the unseen. Farmers whisper a blessing to the land, a subtle acknowledgement of the spirits they believe roam the fields and forests. Children are taught to be cautious, to avoid certain paths after dark, and to respect old trees and springs, because it's said that spirits dwell there. It's a quiet understanding, an unspoken pact between the people and the mythical beings they've heard about since they were small. There are festivals dedicated to honoring these creatures, especially those who are believed to protect the village or ward off evil. The most thrilling of these is the Kukeri festival. Every winter, villagers dress in elaborate costumes and don terrifying masks meant to scare away malevolent spirits. Some of the costumes look like animals, while others are grotesque and monstrous, each mask handcrafted with fierce expressions, horns, and fangs. Men leap and dance, the heavy bells around their waists clanging in unison as they move, creating a wild, eerie symphony that echoes through the streets. It's loud, chaotic, and beautiful all at once, a raw display of humanity calling out to the unknown. Children cling to their parents, both excited and afraid, while elders watch with knowing smiles, remembering their own days as part of the ritual. In these moments, there's an undeniable closeness to the mythical world. To outsiders, it may look like a spectacle, but for the villagers, it's an offering, a way of showing respect to the spirits they believe share their land. Some even say they can feel the spirits watching from the shadows, approving of the ceremony meant to keep their presence alive. But it's not just festivals that bring these creatures into Bulgarian life. Many homes keep small charms or amulets, simple things crafted from wood or iron, believed to guard against malicious spirits. Some families place a protective talisman above their door or a small cross by the window to keep away the tsum, a mischievous house spirit known to play tricks on those who don't show proper respect. It's common for people to whisper a few words to the tsum at night, asking it to guard the household. Grandparents tell stories of times when they forgot to offer respect, only to wake up to strange noises or find household items mysteriously moved. These little acts of faith aren't just superstition, they are bonds, delicate threads tying the people to the spirits they believe surround them. In Bulgaria, certain places hold an especially strong connection to these creatures. Dark forests, rushing rivers, and quiet, mist-covered lakes are thought to be homes for the Samodiva, forest spirits known for their beauty and power. It's said that Samodiva gather under the moonlight, dancing in circles and singing songs that can lure men into their grasp. Young men are warned never to follow the sound of singing in the woods at night, no matter how enchanting it might be. Some believe that those who see the Samodiva dance are blessed with visions, while others are cursed, forever haunted by dreams of those otherworldly spirits. Yet, there is a strange allure to the Samodiva, a mixture of beauty and danger that fascinates and terrifies all who hear their stories. For villagers who live near such places, rituals are performed to keep peace with these spirits. People leave small offerings by rivers or forest edges, sometimes bread or fruit, believing it will appease the Samodiva and keep them from causing harm. It's a simple act of respect, a reminder of the bond between the living and the mystical. Some say that they have seen things, fleeting shadows among the trees, a shimmer by the river's edge, that hint at the presence of these spirits. During the spring, a different kind of spirit is honored. The tradition of Baba Marta, or Grandma March, is a joyful celebration of the coming of spring, yet there is a mysterious edge to it. People wear red and white thread bracelets called martinitsi to honor Baba Marta, who is believed to control the changing weather of March. It's said that if she's happy, she'll bring warmth, but if she's angered, winter will linger, and storms will come. Children eagerly watch the skies, hoping for signs that Baba Marta is pleased. When the first stork appears, or when a tree blossoms, people tie their martinitsi to the branches, giving thanks for spring's arrival and hoping for Baba Marta's blessing. Even in daily life, Bulgarians have rituals to acknowledge the spirits. When entering a forest, many will whisper a small greeting, recognizing that they are stepping into a space that doesn't entirely belong to them. People take care not to whistle at night or disturb quiet places, fearing they might call upon the caracono, a fearsome night creature. Parents tell their children bedtime stories that mix warnings with wonder, reminding them that the world is filled with things both seen and unseen. To Bulgarians, these creatures aren't distant myths. They are neighbors, sharing the same land and breathing the same air. A thunderstorm might remind one of the fearsome dragons, while a strange sound at night could be the work of a playful tsum. In this way, mythical creatures become more than just folklore, they become part of the natural world, as real as the mountains, rivers, and forests. They add color to life, bringing both fear and comfort, mystery and meaning, to a world that might otherwise seem ordinary. There is a shadow that stretches across the mountains and valleys of Bulgaria, and with it, a chill runs through the villages. For centuries, the people have known that this is the sign of the zmei, a creature as mysterious as it is powerful. Unlike the dragons of Western tales, the Bulgarian zmei is more than a monster, it is both a protector and a force of nature, a being of wisdom and wrath. Some say it appears as a giant serpent with glistening scales, wings stretching wide as the sky, and eyes that burn like embers. Others believe the zmei can take on the form of a man, hiding in plain sight among the people it chooses to protect or destroy. In the heart of Bulgarian folklore, the zmei is feared and revered, a dragon that carries with it the weight of the ancient world. It is a being that walks the fine line between darkness and light, never entirely good or evil. The zmei is said to guard the mountains, rivers, and hidden treasures buried deep within the earth, keeping them safe from anyone who would misuse them. Those who live in the shadow of its mountains know the stories well. Elders warn their grandchildren of the times when the zmei has been angered and the storms that have swept through the land in its wake. One legend tells of a village that lay beneath a mountain where a great zmei was said to live. For years, the zmei watched over the villagers, protecting them from raiders and wild animals. Crops flourished, rivers ran clear, and the people lived in peace. But the zmei was not a creature to be taken for granted, and over time, the villagers grew careless. They cut down ancient trees, disturbed sacred springs, and mocked the old ways. They forgot that their peace was not owed to them, it was given, and it could be taken away. One evening, as dark clouds gathered over the mountain, a tremor shook the earth. The villagers rushed to their doors and windows, watching in horror as lightning split the sky, and a roar echoed through the valley. The zmei had awakened. The creature descended from the mountain, its eyes glowing like coals, smoke curling from its nostrils. Some say its roar shook the ground, others swear they could feel the heat from its breath. The Zmei unleashed a storm upon the village, winds tearing through homes, rivers swelling to flood the fields. It was a warning, a reminder of the force that lay behind their peaceful days. By morning, the village lay in ruin, and the people knew they had broken the ancient pact with the dragon. They gathered offerings, bread, honey, flowers, and placed them at the mountain's edge, hoping to calm the Zmei's fury. Yet, the Zmei is not always a force of destruction. In many stories, it appears as a protector, choosing to guard those who honor the land and show reverence for the old ways. There are tales of Zmeis who fall in love with human women, watching over them in secret, bringing rain for the harvest, or even appearing in the dead of night to offer gifts. But a Zmei's love is both a blessing and a curse. In the stories, if a woman accepts the Zmei's love, she gains his protection but can never know peace. The villagers might whisper, warn her that the Zmei is near, but the bond she shares with him will draw her into a world of spirits and shadows, where humans dare not tread. One of the most haunting stories tells of a young woman named Relitsa, who lived near the forest's edge. Relitsa was beautiful, her eyes dark and deep as the night, her laughter bright as morning. She would go to the river each evening, singing as she drew water, her voice drifting through the trees. The Zmei heard her song, enchanted by its beauty. Night after night, it watched her from the shadows, its heart, if a creature such as this has a heart, stirring with a fierce longing. It appeared to her one evening as a young man, tall and strong, his eyes smoldering like fire. Though Relitsa did not know who he was, she felt a powerful attraction to the stranger. Over time, they grew close, and Relitsa found herself drawn to the mysterious man, sensing a hidden strength and passion. But her family feared for her, sensing something unnatural in the stranger. They warned her to stay away, to remember the tales of the Zmei and the women it had claimed. One night, Relitsa went to the river alone, singing softly. As she reached the water's edge, the Zmei appeared, not as a man but in its true form, scales shining in the moonlight, wings outstretched. Terrified yet entranced, Relitsa fell silent, her heart pounding. The Zmei spoke to her in a voice that rumbled like thunder, confessing its love and its desire to protect her forever. But it warned her that if she chose to be with it, she would never be truly free. Relitsa looked into the Zmei's blazing eyes, torn between fear and love. Finally, she whispered her answer, and the Zmei wrapped its great wings around her, lifting her into the sky. Some say she became a spirit, wandering the forests as a guardian. Others say she vanished, her voice now a haunting song carried by the wind. To this day, people believe that if you stand by the river at night, you can hear Relitsa's song, a reminder of the Zmei's power and the bond they shared. For Bulgarians, the Zmei is more than just a dragon, it is a symbol of the land itself, fierce and unyielding, yet capable of love and loyalty. It embodies the wildness of the mountains, the strength of the rivers, and the deep mysteries of the forest. People tell stories of Zmeis that protect their villages, appearing in times of need to drive away invaders or bring rain in times of drought. In return, the people honor the Zmei by leaving offerings, respecting the land, and teaching their children the old ways. They know that while the Zmei may not always be seen, it is always present, watching from the shadows, guarding its people with a fierce and ancient pride. In the stillness of Bulgarian forests, when the world is bathed in moonlight and a haunting quietness falls over the land, people say the Samodiva, the wild spirits, come alive. These forest nymphs, as beautiful as they are powerful, are believed to glide through the trees, their laughter soft and mysterious, like the rustling of leaves in the night wind. Every story about the Samodiva carries a thrill, a sense of awe that has been passed down through generations, and yet, a chill that reminds people not to tread too deeply into the woods. The Samodiva are said to be breathtakingly beautiful, with flowing hair that shines like silk under the moon and eyes that seem to hold the secrets of the forest itself. They wear flowing white gowns that blend with the mist, making them look like spirits rising from the earth. But for all their beauty, the Samodiva are fierce, protectors of the wild, and defenders of their world. Those who have seen them say their beauty can be as terrifying as it is enchanting, a reminder that not all beautiful things are safe to approach. People speak of the Samodiva with a blend of admiration and fear, for encounters with these spirits are said to change lives. If you are lucky, they may bless you, granting you health or good fortune. But cross them, enter their forests without respect, and the Samodiva can be as unforgiving as the fiercest storm. Travelers are warned to tread carefully at night, to leave a small offering if they must enter the forest, and to never follow the sound of laughter or singing, no matter how alluring it might seem. One tale tells of a young shepherd named Peter, who wandered too close to the forest one night. He was known for his love of music, always carrying a wooden flute, his melodies drifting through the village fields as he tended his sheep. On a moonlit night, as he played his flute by the edge of the forest, he heard another song, a voice so pure, so hauntingly beautiful, that it made his heart race. It was the voice of a Samodiva. Against every warning he had ever heard, he stepped into the trees, drawn by the sound. The world around him felt enchanted, each tree, each leaf shimmering as if touched by magic. Then he saw her, a Samodiva, dancing in a moonlit clearing, her dress flowing like water, her hair a cascade of starlight. Peter's heart swelled with wonder, but as he watched, the Samodiva suddenly turned to him. Her eyes, dark and deep, seemed to pierce through him, and in that moment, he realized his mistake. She was no ordinary woman, she was a spirit, a force of nature, bound to the wild in ways he could never understand. Terrified but unable to look away, he felt his strength slipping, his body weakening under her gaze. The Samodiva walked toward him, her beauty fierce, her power undeniable. She raised her hand, and with a single gesture, his flute fell from his hands, and Peter collapsed to the ground, feeling the life drain from him. In the days that followed, he returned to his village, but he was forever changed. His face grew pale, his body weakened, and he was haunted by dreams of that night, of the Samodiva's gaze and her haunting song. He told his story to the elders, who knew that he had been cursed for disturbing the Samodiva's forest. They whispered prayers for him, but there was nothing they could do. From that night on, Peter's music was silent, a reminder of the power and mystery of the Samodiva. Yet, not all encounters end in tragedy. Some say the Samodiva can be merciful, even kind, to those who respect the forest and its mysteries. There are tales of farmers who, desperate for rain, leave offerings of bread, honey, and flowers at the forest's edge, hoping to earn the Samodiva's favor. Some say that in times of drought, the Samodiva have appeared to villagers in their dreams, guiding them to hidden springs deep in the forest. And when the villagers find these springs, they leave gifts for the Samodiva, a gesture of gratitude for their silent blessing. Only when the air grew still and the storm clouds retreated did they know their plea had been accepted. The Zmei returned to its mountain, and the village, forever changed, remembered the respect that was owed to the ancient guardian. For young women, stories of the Samodiva carry a special meaning. The Samodiva are often seen as symbols of independence and power, spirits who live by their own rules, answer to no one, and protect their land with unwavering strength. It is said that women who encounter them feel a sense of both fear and admiration, as if seeing a glimpse of a life free from human constraints. Some even say that the Samodiva can inspire women with courage, filling their hearts with a fierce desire to stand strong and protect what they hold dear. But to most, the Samodiva remain a mystery, their world a place humans were never meant to fully understand. Villagers have learned to respect the forest, to avoid certain paths, and to speak softly when they enter these sacred spaces. Children are told bedtime stories of the Samodiva, warnings disguised as tales of beauty and magic. They grow up with a sense of reverence for the forest, for the spirits who dwell there, and for the mysteries that should remain undisturbed. There is a saying in Bulgaria, "Do not look for the Samodiva, for they will find you when they choose." It is a reminder that the wild spirits are not to be summoned or controlled. They are beings of beauty and power, untamed and free, bound only by the ancient laws of nature. They may appear when the moon is full, when the forest is silent, when the air is thick with the scent of flowers. And if they do, it is a gift, a rare and fleeting glimpse into a world that is as old as time itself. Those who encounter them carry the memory for life, a memory tinged with awe and fear, as if they have brushed against something eternal, something that exists beyond the world of men. When winter descends upon Bulgaria and the nights grow long and cold, a sense of unease settles over the villages. Families gather close around their fires, whispering about the caracono, a shadowy trickster spirit known to roam the winter nights. It's said to creep through the darkness, a figure both mischievous and malevolent, leaving a trail of chaos in its wake. With eyes that glint like embers and a crooked grin that's hidden in the dark, the caracono slips through cracks and keyholes, lurking in the coldest shadows. People know that the caracono is never to be trusted. This spirit delights in causing trouble, feeding off the fear and confusion it leaves behind. Some say it appears as a hunched figure, with wiry hair and a twisted, almost skeletal form, moving with an eerie swiftness that catches even the bravest souls off guard. But the most unsettling thing about the caracono is that it is never quite the same twice. Sometimes it resembles a stray dog or a twisted shadow, other times it seems to blend into the night, becoming nothing more than a whisper in the cold wind. During winter, when the sun sets early and the moonlight barely pierces the thick winter clouds, the caracono is at its strongest. It's then that it slips from house to house, stirring up mischief wherever it goes. Pots are turned upside down, doors creak open by themselves, and children wake up crying from dreams they can't remember. Animals in their pens grow restless, and dogs bark at empty doorways, sensing the presence of something no one else can see. Some say that if you listen closely on a winter's night, you can hear its chuckling laughter mingling with the howling wind. People speak in hushed voices of times when the caracono has taken things further, its tricks turning darker. One winter, a farmer named Stopan, known for his skepticism of spirits, mocked the caracono's existence, laughing off the tales that his neighbors shared. He returned home on a frigid evening, only to find his barn in disarray, his tools scattered, the animals skittish, their eyes wide with fear. Shaking his head, he dismissed it as the work of a thief. But that night, as he lay in bed, a chill seeped through his room, his breath turning to mist before his eyes. He heard a scratching sound at his window, followed by a faint, mocking laugh. His heart pounded, a sense of dread settling over him as the laughter grew louder, seeming to come from every shadow in the room. Unable to shake the feeling, Stopan got up and threw open his window, his voice breaking as he called out, demanding that the spirit leave him be. But only silence answered, a thick, heavy silence that wrapped around him like a shroud. The caracono had claimed its place, and for the rest of that winter, Stopan could hardly sleep, haunted by small disturbances, the flickering of candles, footsteps in empty hallways, the ever-present feeling of being watched. Stories like these keep people cautious, especially in the bleakest nights of the year. Doors are locked tightly, and even the boldest children are warned not to wander out after dark. People leave small offerings, bits of bread or salt, on their doorsteps, hoping to distract or placate the caracono, to keep its mischief from turning into something darker. Elders say that if you meet its gaze, you'll be trapped in its thrall, losing your way in the snow and wandering until you can no longer find your way home. Some legends say the caracono is not entirely evil, rather, it is a creature bound to the darkness, unable to escape its nature. It doesn't seek to harm, at least, not always, but rather to amuse itself in a world that has long forgotten its place in the old tales. Children are told not to call out to it, not to challenge it, for the caracono does not take kindly to disrespect. But in villages where the spirit has made its presence known, people know better than to dismiss it as mere legend. There is an old belief that the caracono enjoys toying with those who ignore its warnings, especially those who are prideful or arrogant. It relishes the fear it can stir in even the most stubborn souls. There are tales of travelers who, laughing off the warnings, set out on dark winter nights only to find themselves lost, stumbling through snow-covered fields with no memory of how they got there. Some return home with stories of strange figures in the snow, shadows that dance and twist, mocking them with every step. Others do not return at all, their footprints vanishing into the drifts, leaving only questions behind. For the villagers, the caracono is a reminder of the power of the unknown, a force that exists beyond the safety of warm fires and familiar faces. It is a creature of the wild, a spirit that embodies the harshness and unpredictability of winter itself. As long as the nights are cold and dark, the caracono will continue its mischief, slipping through the shadows, keeping people on edge, reminding them that some things are better left undisturbed. And so, when winter falls, people hold their loved ones a little closer, keeping the fires burning well into the night. When night falls over Bulgaria and silence settles over the fields and villages, there is an old fear that lingers in the hearts of the people, a fear of the vampire. The Bulgarian vampire is not the romanticized figure of modern stories, but something far darker, something that fills the air with dread. Long ago, people believed that certain souls, those marked by a troubled life or death, might not find peace. Instead, they would rise again, trapped between this world and the next, hungry for the warmth of the living. The villagers knew the signs. A family member who died unexpectedly, a life taken by violence, or even a burial gone wrong could mean that the spirit wouldn't rest. After the funeral, neighbors would listen for strange sounds near the grave, faint rustling, whispers on the wind, or even a soft heartbeat beneath the earth. If any of these signs appeared, it was whispered that the soul had not moved on. The villagers feared they had a vampire among them. To prevent this horror, people took special care during burials. The body would be prepared with rituals meant to keep the soul at peace. Sometimes, thorny roses would be placed in the grave, thought to keep the restless spirit from leaving. Stakes, made of iron or wood, would be driven into the ground, securing the body and preventing it from rising. Other times, the corpse's mouth would be stuffed with garlic or sealed shut, a desperate measure to stop the vampire from calling out to loved ones or taking their life force. But even with these precautions, fear gripped the villagers. Stories tell of the pale figure of a vampire, rising at night with hollow, empty eyes that sought out the living. The vampire was not an elegant creature, it was twisted, its face gaunt and colorless, its form a shell of the person it had once been. Driven by hunger, it would wander through the night, seeking warmth, life, anything to fill the emptiness. People would awaken to find themselves weakened, feeling as though something had been stolen from them in the dark hours. In some tales, it's said that if a loved one calls out to the vampire, it can answer. But to do so is to invite it closer. Those who heard the voices of lost family members would lock their doors, praying that the sound would pass. Some who were tricked by these calls would find themselves caught in a gaze that they could not break, trapped by the vampire's unholy hunger, powerless against the pull of that empty, haunting stare. Villagers grew wise to these tales, learning to protect themselves with talismans and charms. During times of sickness or unusual deaths, families would gather in small groups, reciting prayers and hanging garlic or protective herbs around their homes. It was believed that the vampire feared the scent, that it would keep it at bay, forcing it to retreat into the darkness. Yet, no precaution was ever enough to ease the hearts of those who believed in the vampire. For in every village, there were stories of those who claimed to have seen one, who had witnessed loved ones return from the grave, their eyes hollow, their smiles a memory of who they once were. One haunting tale tells of a woman named Marta, whose husband had died suddenly in the winter, his face pale and cold. Days after his burial, Marta swore she heard his voice in the night, soft and familiar, calling her name from beyond her door. She fought against her longing, knowing the stories, yet the sound was so familiar, so full of love and sorrow, that her heart ached. When she could bear it no longer, she answered him, just once. In that moment, her room grew cold, and a shadow passed over her. Her husband's figure appeared before her, but the face she saw was not the man she had loved. It was a face twisted with hunger, a shadow of life clinging desperately to her warmth. She fell to the ground, overcome with terror, her heart broken by what he had become. For the rest of her days, she spoke to no one, her voice a whisper in the village, a chilling reminder of the dangers of the vampire. As the years passed, these tales traveled far, seeping into the folklore of distant lands. People spoke of the Bulgarian vampire with fear and awe, captivated by the darkness it brought. But for the villagers, the vampire was not a distant legend. It was the reason doors were locked at night, why children were told to stay close, why the land itself felt haunted during the cold winter nights. It was the weight of loss, the shadow of death, a reminder that sometimes love and life cannot be bound by the grave. In the heart of Bulgarian folklore, there is a creature that embodies fear itself, a serpent monster that haunts rivers and deep, dark forests, the terrifying lamia. To merely speak of the lamia is to feel a chill settle over the room, as if her very name can call her forth. People describe her as a creature with the body of a serpent, massive and powerful, scales gleaming like the slick stones at the bottom of a river. But her head, they say, is something far more disturbing, almost human, yet twisted, monstrous, her eyes cold and dark, her mouth lined with sharp, dagger-like teeth. She is more than a beast, she is an ancient terror, a presence that fills the air with dread. In the old stories, the lamia is a relentless predator, emerging from the shadows to prey upon anyone unfortunate enough to wander too close. Parents warn their children not to linger near certain rivers or to stray too far from home, for it is near water that she often waits, her serpent form hidden beneath the surface, her dark eyes watching. She is patient, biding her time, a hunter who can lie perfectly still for hours, even days, waiting for her moment. The tales say she can grow to immense lengths, with coils that wrap around trees, squeezing until they shatter, her power both silent and crushing. The lamia is not merely a monster but a symbol of greed and hunger that cannot be sated. Stories passed down through generations tell of her insatiable thirst, not just for food but for control over her domain. Her presence turns lush forests into eerie, silent places where even the animals keep to the shadows. She is feared not only for her strength, but also for the way she can cloud the mind, drawing people to her, luring them into her deadly embrace. One tale tells of a young man named Dian who, enchanted by his courage, thought he could confront the lamia and win. He'd heard the stories of her attacks on travelers and knew of her reputation as a killer. The villagers tried to warn him, but he would not listen, and in his heart, he felt invincible. One evening, he ventured alone into the forest, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and thrill. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he heard the rivers whisper, and his courage faltered. Yet, he continued, thinking of his own strength and bravery. The darkness fell heavy that night, thick as velvet, and just as he neared the river's edge, he saw something shift in the water, a ripple, a glint of scales under the moonlight. His heart froze, and he could feel the chill of fear settle into his bones. Then, before he could turn, she rose from the water, her eyes locking onto him with a gaze that was both hungry and unfeeling. Her coils began to emerge, dripping with water, wrapping around him like the cold grasp of death. The villagers found his remains days later, a warning to any who dared tread near her domain. The lamia is a reminder of the ancient Thracian beliefs that tied humans deeply to nature, to forces beyond their control. In those days, people knew that there were places meant to be left untouched, domains where humans were not welcome. They respected the dark forests, the powerful rivers, the silent caves, understanding that creatures like the lamia belonged there, protectors of the wild lands that stretched across Bulgaria. To disturb her realm was to bring death, to face an unstoppable hunger that could not be reasoned with. Her legend survives, even today, a cautionary tale that warns of both respect for nature and the dangers of unchecked pride. The lamia is not just a creature but a haunting reminder, her form coiled in the shadows of our fears, her presence a dark stain on the landscape. To meet her gaze is to know terror, and to feel her coils is to know the weight of fate itself. In the misty silence of twilight, when the rivers of Bulgaria run quiet and still, there is a beauty so eerie it steals the breath from those who dare to look. They say this is when the rosula appear, the elusive river nymphs whose allure is both mesmerizing and deadly. These ethereal beings move like silk across the water, their hair flowing like waves, their eyes deep and inviting, a mystery that beckons any soul who catches a glimpse. But those who meet their gaze rarely return with stories to tell. The rosula are more than beautiful, they are haunting, woven from threads of water and shadow, their laughter as soft as the rustle of reeds. Their beauty is breathtaking, yet cold, a beauty that holds a warning beneath its surface. With pale skin that shimmers under the moonlight and voices that carry the sweetness of forgotten lullabies, the rosula are masters of enchantment. They lure with promises unspoken, pulling people closer with every whisper of the river, every shimmer that dances upon the water's edge. The legends say that the Rusalki are the spirits of young women who met tragic ends near water, their souls bound forever to the rivers and lakes that witnessed their last breath. Lost to this world, they live in an in-between place, existing both in sorrow and in beauty, an eternal reminder of lives cut short. Some stories tell of maidens betrayed, others of lovers lost. In each tale, the water holds their sorrow, their memories drifting with the currents, the echo of their lives whispering through the reeds. Yet, for all their beauty, the Rusalki are feared. Their charm is their weapon, and with it, they lure the unwary, calling to lonely souls with a promise of love and warmth. A traveler drawn by their laughter may step into the river's embrace, never to emerge. Some say that the Rusalki's touch is as cold as the water itself, that they pull their victims beneath the surface, holding them close as the water closes in, their faces serene even as the life slips away. There is a tale, whispered among villagers, of a young man named Peter who could not resist the allure of the river. Drawn by a voice like no other, he ventured out one evening, following the gentle sound of laughter carried on the breeze. Under the moonlight, he saw her, a Rusalka, her eyes deep as the river, her hand outstretched in a silent invitation. He knew he should turn away, but the pull was too strong. He felt a warmth in his heart, a longing that seemed to grow with every step. When he reached her, he felt the icy grip of her hand, her fingers like water slipping through his own. Yet he couldn't let go, her gaze held him, an enchantment too powerful to break. They say he walked willingly into the water, never looking back, his eyes filled with the beauty before him. Days later, the villagers found his belongings near the riverbank, untouched and still, as if waiting for his return. But Peter was gone, his spirit claimed by the water, leaving only his memory behind. The Rusalki are not merely spirits, they are symbols of the river's mystery, the beauty and danger intertwined in every glistening current. Parents tell their children stories of the Rusalki not just to scare them, but to remind them of the respect the waters demand. For the Rusalki are bound to the river's flow, guardians of a world beyond human understanding, a world where beauty conceals sorrow, and every ripple holds a memory. To encounter a Rusalka is to be forever changed. In the quiet hours when night blankets the old, crumbling ruins and abandoned houses of Bulgaria, there's a presence that can chill the bones of even the bravest heart. The tsum, a ghostly spirit born of lingering sorrow or unresolved anger, is said to haunt these forsaken places, restless and unseen. It's the flicker of a shadow, the creak of a floorboard that shouldn't be moving, the sound of soft whispers that drift through empty rooms. Each abandoned place feels somehow alive, filled with the quiet yet palpable energy of a spirit that has refused to let go. The tsum doesn't belong to the world of the living, yet it's bound to it, unwilling or unable to leave. Legends say it often takes up residence in places where tragedy struck or where someone met a sorrowful end. The tsum is not a distant spirit, but a presence that feels almost familiar, as if part of the very walls and floors it haunts. But this familiarity doesn't bring comfort. Instead, it brings fear, a constant reminder that some spirits never rest. For some, the tsum is simply mischievous, playing tricks on any who wander into its territory. People tell of keys disappearing, doors closing on their own, lights flickering even when there is no wind. And yet, even these small pranks have a darkness behind them, as if the tsum is trying to remind the living that it is there, just beyond their sight, lingering in the shadows. People who enter these abandoned places often leave with a strange feeling, as though something watched them from just out of sight, something hidden in the cold silence of the rooms. But the tsum is not always content with mischief. There are stories of spirits filled with anger, souls trapped in bitterness, who lash out with vengeful energy. Those who disturb such places, often without respect or caution, are said to feel its wrath. Some who ignored the signs of its presence would find objects hurled across the room, doors slamming shut, even strange cold winds brushing against their skin. For the tsum is believed to protect its home fiercely, guarding the place it haunts as though it still had life to live within those walls. There's an old story of a man named Bazadar, who once tried to settle in a rundown house on the edge of a village. Despite the warnings, he insisted he didn't believe in spirits, laughing at the tales that had kept others away. On his first night in the house, he began to feel uneasy, a prickling feeling at the back of his neck as if someone stood just behind him. He brushed it off, determined to make the place his own. But the Talaysum did not welcome him. As the nights passed, his sleep became restless, disturbed by strange noises and faint whispers he couldn't quite understand. One night, as he sat by the fireplace, he felt a chill so sharp it made his skin crawl. Suddenly, the room grew silent, the air thick with tension. Then, without warning, the windows rattled, the door slammed shut, and an icy wind filled the room. His heart pounded as he felt an unseen force pushing against him, something heavy and angry pressing down. Terrified, Bazadar fled that night, never to return, leaving the house to its ghostly guardian. These stories linger, warnings passed down to remind people of the Talaysum's presence. In every abandoned building, every old ruin, there is an echo of someone who was once there, a memory that refuses to fade. The Talaysum is a spirit of grief and fury, a protector of the forgotten, a reminder that even in silence, something remains. Those who listen closely can feel it, a shiver down the spine, the softest of sighs, the sense that in these empty spaces, they are never truly alone. In the shadows of the dense Bulgarian forests, where the trees stretch high and the wind whispers secrets, there exists a figure so powerful and enigmatic that her very name sends shivers down the spine. Baba Yaga, a witch of remarkable depth, has transcended her origins in Slavic folklore to become a symbol of mystery and fear in Bulgarian tales. She is both a guardian and a threat, a wise woman and a fearsome entity, embodying the wild and untamed spirit of the wilderness itself. Baba Yaga is often described as an old woman with wild hair that seems to dance with the wind, her eyes glinting with a knowing light that holds centuries of wisdom and mischief. Her appearance is startling, her crooked nose and sharp teeth hint at a fierce nature that can be both nurturing and destructive. She lives in a hut that stands on chicken legs, a whimsical sight that belies the power she holds within. This strange dwelling can move and shift, appearing wherever it pleases, almost as if it is a creature in its own right, echoing Baba Yaga's unpredictable essence. In Bulgarian folklore, she is not merely a witch, she is a guardian of the forest and the ancient knowledge hidden within. Those who dare to seek her out may find her knowledge invaluable, but approaching her comes with a price. The forest is her domain, and she demands respect from anyone who enters. Many tales tell of brave souls who ventured into the woods seeking her guidance. Some returned changed, carrying the weight of her lessons, while others disappeared, never to be seen again, lost to the wilds that Baba Yaga knows so well. One story speaks of a young girl named Mira, who lived in a village plagued by misfortune. Crops failed, livestock grew sick, and despair settled over the community like a thick fog. Desperate for help, Mira decided to seek out Baba Yaga, believing the old witch held the key to saving her village. As she approached the forest, fear clutched at her heart, but determination pushed her forward. The shadows deepened around her, and the air grew thick with the scent of moss and damp earth. After wandering for what felt like hours, Mira finally reached Baba Yaga's hut, her heart racing with both fear and hope. She knocked, and the door creaked open, revealing the witch in all her glory. Baba Yaga's gaze pierced through Mira, as if she could see every thought swirling in the girl's mind. "What do you seek, child?" her voice rasped, echoing with an ancient power. Mira, trembling but resolute, explained her village's plight. Baba Yaga listened, her expression unreadable. "Many come seeking my help, but few are willing to pay the price," she warned. In that moment, Mira understood that wisdom could not be given freely, it must be earned through sacrifice and bravery. With courage, Mira agreed to complete 3 tasks for Baba Yaga, tasks that tested her strength, intelligence, and spirit. The first involved gathering rare herbs from the deepest part of the forest, a place where even the bravest hunters dared not tread. The second required her to solve a riddle that twisted through her thoughts like the branches above her. The final task forced her to confront her own fears, standing alone against the dark whispers that echoed in the night. With each task, Mira grew stronger, her heart filled with determination and newfound understanding. After completing the final challenge, she returned to Baba Yaga, who regarded her with a mixture of pride and respect. "You have faced your fears and proven your worth," she said, her voice softer now. "Your village will prosper again, but remember, wisdom is a journey, not a destination." Mira left the witch's hut, her spirit lifted, carrying not just the knowledge she sought, but a deeper understanding of herself and the world around her. When she returned home, the village slowly began to heal, crops blossomed, and hope returned. Yet, the villagers whispered of the price that came with Baba Yaga's help, a reminder that in the dance between light and darkness, balance must always be sought. Baba Yaga embodies the essence of the wild, a force of nature that cannot be tamed. She is both a teacher and a tormentor, representing the duality of existence, creation and destruction, wisdom and folly. In Bulgarian folklore, she remains a powerful figure, reminding us that the forest holds secrets we cannot begin to fathom, and that every choice we make shapes our destiny. As her stories weave through the fabric of Bulgarian culture, she teaches that true strength comes not just from power, but from understanding and respect. Baba Yaga stands as a testament to the spirit of the wild, an ever-watchful presence in the shadows of the forest, waiting for those brave enough to seek her out. In the silence of the midnight hours, when even the bravest travelers feel a chill creeping up their spine, the caracono is said to come alive. This demon of the night, feared and whispered about in Bulgarian villages, waits in the darkness to haunt those who dare to wander alone under the cloak of night. With a presence that chills the blood and a form that strikes terror, the caracono embodies everything that is both terrifying and mysterious about the unknown shadows that linger just beyond sight. The caracono is not a spirit of mischief, but a creature of pure fear. Some describe it as a twisted, shadowy figure with glowing eyes that pierce through the night, a face that shifts between human and beast, and limbs that seem to move in unnatural, jerking motions. Unlike ghosts or gentle spirits, the caracono carries a menacing weight, a force of pure dread that feels like ice against the skin. Travelers who have felt its presence tell of an overwhelming urge to run, a primal fear that something unseen but horribly real is watching, waiting, drawing closer with each breath. People say the caracono appears on the longest nights of winter, those cold, unforgiving hours when warmth seems a distant memory and the world feels consumed by shadows. The villagers speak of nights when the wind howls like a warning, as though nature itself is trying to protect them from venturing too far into the darkness. It is during these nights, when the snow falls heavy and silent, and every crunch of footsteps feels louder than thunder, that the caracono prowls. There's a tale of a young shepherd, Ivan, who once ignored the warnings, laughing at the tales of the caracono as nothing more than silly folklore. One night, when the moon was hidden behind thick clouds and the path home was blanketed in shadow, he found himself alone in the woods. As he walked, a heavy silence settled, broken only by the soft crunch of his own steps. And then, without warning, he felt it, a presence, thick and suffocating, as if the very air around him had turned solid. He quickened his pace, but the feeling only grew stronger, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. Then he saw it, a dark shape moving in the corner of his vision, a low growl echoing through the trees. Paralyzed with terror, he dared not turn, but in his heart, he knew the caracono had found him. Panic overtook him, and he ran, stumbling over roots and rocks, his breath ragged, his mind consumed by fear. Somehow, he made it back to his village, collapsing on his doorstep, his face pale and eyes wide, forever haunted by the memory of what he had seen. For the people who believe in the caracono, it is not just a ghostly story but a warning, a reminder of the darkness that exists outside the safety of their homes. Children are taught from a young age to be wary of the night, to listen to the signs of the forest and respect its mysteries. To them, the caracono is a symbol of caution, a being that punishes arrogance and protects the secrets of the night from those who would dare to break its silence. The caracono isn't just a creature of the wild but a reminder of the delicate boundary between the world we know and the one that lurks in shadows. It teaches a lesson not in words but in fear, a lesson felt in the racing heartbeats of those who encounter it, and the shivers that crawl up the spine when a person feels they are not alone. It is a lesson of respect for the night and all that hides within it, for some forces in the world are not meant to be challenged or provoked. To this day, the caracono is feared and revered in equal measure. And for those who hear the stories, there is a quiet understanding that as long as there are dark, lonely roads and long, silent nights, the caracono will remain, lurking in the shadows, a phantom of fear that no light can ever fully chase away. In every Bulgarian home, nestled in the quiet spaces where warmth and comfort dwell, there is a silent protector, the Stopan. Believed to be the household guardian spirit, the Stopan doesn't appear in dramatic visions or make its presence known through grand gestures. Instead, it resides quietly, almost invisibly, watching over the family, sheltering their dreams, and guiding their daily lives with a gentle, protective hand. For generations, the Stopan has been as essential to Bulgarian homes as the hearth that warms them, embodying a love and guardianship that defies sight and sound. The presence of the Stopan is often felt rather than seen, a subtle warmth that comforts when the world outside grows dark and uncertain. Parents say the Stopan watches over sleeping children, warding off nightmares and ensuring they wake safely each morning. It is there when families gather, a quiet presence that fills the air with a calm energy, as if watching over each person and promising safety as long as they respect and cherish its presence. Families believe that so long as the Stopan is content, their homes will remain places of peace and prosperity. Respect for the Stopan is woven into the daily rhythm of life. Small offerings are left on the hearth, on tables, or in hidden corners, tokens of gratitude meant to honor and nourish the spirit. A piece of bread, a pinch of salt, or a few drops of wine, these simple gifts carry immense meaning, a way of saying, "Thank you for watching over us." These rituals are quiet, almost secret, handed down from parents to children as a sacred trust. The Stopan asks for little yet gives much, and each offering is a small gesture of love, a reminder of the bond between the family and its unseen guardian. It is said that the Stopan cares deeply for the home's well-being and does not take kindly to disrespect. Stories passed down from one generation to the next warn of families who neglected their Stopan, who failed to leave offerings or forgot the rituals that honored their guardian spirit. In these tales, bad fortune followed, livestock grew sick, food supplies dwindled, or the family suffered sleepless nights filled with strange noises. These stories are not threats but reminders, a way of passing on the respect and love needed to nurture this bond. One particular story, often shared in whispers around the hearth, tells of a family who moved into an old farmhouse on the outskirts of a village. At first, they were unaware of the Stopan, thinking only of the physical tasks of setting up their home. Days went by, but things seemed unsettled. The milk soured unexpectedly, strange creaks echoed at night, and their youngest child, a little boy, woke up crying, pointing to the dark corners of the room, saying he felt someone there. The parents, puzzled but respectful of the old ways, decided to make a small offering, a piece of fresh bread and honey placed carefully on the hearth. That night, the house felt different. The air grew warmer, the shadows less foreboding, and the little boy slept peacefully for the first time. From then on, the family continued the ritual, leaving small tokens for the Stopan, and in return, they felt a peace settle over their lives. The house, once cold and unfamiliar, transformed into a true home, filled with warmth and laughter. The Stopan is not a mere symbol of superstition, it is an embodiment of the connection between family, home, and spirit. In the Bulgarian heart, it is a reminder that we are never truly alone, that even in our most private spaces, a guardian watches over us. The Stopan is the soul of the home, a quiet promise that there is a force looking out for the people within, grounding them with an ancient, enduring love. Even now, as modern life pulls people in many directions, some Bulgarians hold onto these old traditions, leaving offerings, lighting a candle, or simply speaking softly when they feel the Stopan nearby. In these moments, they continue a legacy that stretches back for centuries, honoring the protector who has been with them through countless seasons of joy, sorrow, and change. And as long as there are homes filled with love, the Stopan will remain, guarding in silence, always watching, always protecting. When the air grew thick with dread and silence fell heavy over the land, the people of old whispered of Chuma. She was not just an illness or a misfortune, but a spirit, the very embodiment of the plague itself. In every shadowed room and every quiet village road, there was a sense that Chuma could be near, moving unseen, yet feared deeply by all who sensed her presence. In the eyes of those who told her story, Chuma was no mere myth, but a grim and living terror. The stories say that Chuma came like a cold breath on the wind, a shiver that ran through the heart of a village. Those who saw her would speak of a pale figure in ragged robes, her face covered by a dark veil, her touch ice-cold, leaving sickness in her wake. Her steps were silent, but her impact was louder than thunder. It was said that where Chuma went, life withered, a healthy child would fall overnight, strong men would weaken, and once lively homes would become hushed and fearful places. To see her was to understand that something irreversible had happened, that nothing would ever be quite the same again. Mothers held their children close when they heard Chuma's name, fearing that the spirit might come for the youngest and most vulnerable first. Villagers barred their doors and placed iron nails above them, hoping that these small charms could keep her away. They would burn herbs and speak quiet prayers, pleading for mercy. Even the most skeptical souls felt a tightening in their chests when they heard the stories of Chuma. It was as though the air itself grew heavy and difficult to breathe, as if the mere thought of her brought with it a faint touch of her chilling power. During times of epidemic, when disease spread from one house to another, from one village to the next, Chuma became almost a constant presence. People swore they could feel her hovering outside their homes, that the sickness ravaging their communities was her twisted handiwork. She was feared yet respected, for she brought with her a deadly reminder of life's fragility. When word spread that the plague had come, people whispered, "Chuma walks among us," and the atmosphere in the village would shift, each person feeling the weight of her presence in their bones. There are stories of how, in some villages, people would attempt to make peace with Chuma, to persuade her to spare them and move on. Some would prepare offerings, bread and wine left at the crossroads or at the edge of town. Others would carve wooden effigies and burn them, hoping the smoke would carry their pleas to her. It was said that in extreme desperation, a village might even send a young maiden dressed in white to the outskirts, hoping that the purity of her innocence would appease the spirit and turn her deadly gaze elsewhere. And though these measures seemed small and fragile against Chuma's terrible power, they were acts of hope in a time overshadowed by fear. Chuma's presence served as a harsh reminder that life, though beautiful, was precarious. She reminded the people of Bulgaria that no amount of strength or courage could keep death at bay indefinitely. For the villagers, Chuma was a force beyond human understanding, an ancient power that was both feared and, in a strange way, honored. She was a reminder to cherish the health of loved ones, to be grateful for every dawn that arrived without her shadow, and to live each day as though it were a rare and fragile gift. Even now, the stories of Chuma remain. They linger in the memory of those who remember their grandparents' whispered tales, of the quiet prayers and offerings made to ward off her gaze. In these tales, Chuma is more than just a spirit of death. She is a symbol of the uncertainty that lies beyond human control, a shadow that tests human resilience, and a reminder that, even in times of despair, people find ways to fight back, to hold on to hope, and to honor life. In the quiet corners of the Bulgarian forests and the narrow paths winding through village fields, tales of the Yababo live on, whispered by those who grew up under her watchful presence. She is no ordinary figure, neither wholly a witch nor merely a healer. She stands somewhere in between, carrying secrets passed down through ages, a woman shaped by both fear and respect. To the villagers, Yababo was never just an old woman with herbs and roots. She was wisdom incarnate, a figure wrapped in mystery, with the power to heal or curse, to guide or leave others to wander lost. People say Yababo moved through the forest like a shadow, gathering roots and plants with such knowing hands that it was as though the forest itself guided her. She knew where to find herbs hidden beneath stones, mushrooms growing only in the darkest hollows, and flowers whose petals held life-saving magic. Her small hut, tucked away from the village, was filled with bundles of drying leaves, jars of mysterious liquids, and the smell of earth and wood. For anyone who dared step inside, it felt like crossing into another world, a place where time slowed, and the air held secrets thicker than smoke. Those who needed Yababo's help came to her in moments of desperation. If a child fell ill, if someone's pain became unbearable, or if a young mother's labor grew difficult, villagers would set aside their fears and seek her out. She would appear, small and wiry, her face withered by years, but her eyes sharp as a hawk's. With a look, she seemed to understand their unspoken worries, her gaze piercing through to the heart of their troubles. Yababo would hand them a pouch filled with dried herbs, murmur instructions for a poultice, or give a potion meant to heal. And while her remedies often worked miracles, the villagers never took her aid lightly, for her gifts came with an unspoken price, respect for the power she held. Her powers extended beyond mere herbal knowledge. There was a touch of the mystical in everything Yababo did. It was said that she could understand the language of birds, knew the ways of animals, and saw things hidden from the rest of the world. She could sense storms before they arrived, feel sickness before it spread, and some even said she could peer into the future. She would sometimes utter strange phrases that only became clear days later, leaving those who heard them with a mix of gratitude and unease. Yet, for every tale of Yababo as healer, there was another casting her as a figure of fear. Villagers spoke of moments when she would appear without being called, standing at the edge of the village at dusk or leaving small, strange tokens on doorsteps, bundles of feathers, stones arranged in patterns, the marks of her mysterious protection or warning. Children grew up fearing her glance, mothers warned their sons to be respectful, and fathers avoided crossing her path without reason. Yababo was as much a guardian as she was a reminder of the unknown forces that walked the earth. Even her appearance hinted at her dual nature. With her wild, unbound hair and clothes made from animal skins and woven fabrics, Yababo seemed part of the land itself, a creature of earth and sky, untamed and ancient. The lines on her face told stories of countless seasons, of secrets buried in the soil, and of powers that stretched beyond life and death. Some said that her spirit was older than any human, that she was less a person and more a being woven from the essence of the earth, born from roots and bound to the winds that swept through the mountains. Yababo's life was marked by solitude, yet she was never truly alone. The forest was her home, and in its silence, she found peace and connection. Villagers would sometimes catch glimpses of her speaking to trees, listening as if the very air whispered back. They knew not to disturb her, for in those moments, she was said to be communing with forces far older than humanity. It was in this solitude that she found her strength, her knowledge, and the wisdom that both drew people to her and made them afraid. But there was a softness in her, too, hidden beneath the layers of mystery. She was known to leave food out for wandering animals, to mend the broken wing of a bird, to hum soft lullabies when no one was listening. Those who were lucky enough to witness these small acts would never forget the kindness she hid beneath her gruff exterior. Yababo, despite her power, had a heart that beat for the world around her, a love for the land that guided her every step. In the end, Yababo's place in the village was one of reverence and caution. She was a figure both beloved and feared, a wise woman whose powers could heal or harm, whose knowledge was both a gift and a curse. Through her, the villagers learned the balance of life, the necessity of respect for things beyond their understanding, and the importance of humility in the face of forces that shaped their world. And so, Yababo lived on in their stories, a symbol of the mysteries that lay just beyond the known, a wise woman or witch, a guardian and a legend, her spirit as eternal as the land she loved. In the hushed silence of Bulgarian villages, as evening shadows stretched over fields and rooftops, stories of the vampire hunters, the vampire, sent shivers through every heart. These weren't mere tales or superstitions. For the people, they were the front line between life and death, guarding against spirits that crawled out from the grave. To face a vampire meant confronting an ancient fear, a fear that fed on darkness and twisted life into something else, something beyond death. Vampires were not chosen lightly, their path required more than courage. These hunters carried a burden that few would envy, a weight that seemed to age them early, deepening the lines on their faces and stealing the light from their eyes. Some villagers said you could tell a vampire by the way he walked, a certain heaviness that clung to him as if he were forever standing between worlds. They were the ones called upon in whispers when a family was haunted by a shadowy illness, or when livestock started dying mysteriously under the pale moonlight. The tools of a vampire were as formidable as his purpose. First was the wooden stake, carved from ash or hawthorn, trees believed to hold the power to pierce evil itself. Some say the stakes were blessed with oils and herbs, smeared with garlic and elderflower to ward off any lingering spirits. To hold that stake wasn't just a duty, it was a lifeline, the only thing standing between him and the cursed, twisted form that would rise from the grave. No one dared underestimate the importance of these weapons, each sharpened to perfection and handled with the care one might give to a newborn, for these stakes carried the hopes and prayers of a terrified village. But his arsenal didn't end with the stake. The vampire also had iron tongs for holding the creature's neck, preventing its escape as he drove the stake through its heart. Iron, in itself, was a sacred metal. Ancient Bulgarians believed it held a strength that other materials lacked, something that could hold back even the darkest forces. A mirror was another indispensable tool, a small shard used to reveal the vampire's true form, as these undead beings would have no reflection. And then, there was the holy water, a simple vial blessed by the village priest, to cleanse the ground where the creature lay or to sanctify the weapon before a hunt. When word of a vampire spread, the vampire's role extended beyond mere combat. He would first investigate with a solemnity that silenced even the boldest among the villagers. His steps would lead him to the cemetery, perhaps alone in the dead of night, his torchlight flickering against the old stones and worn crosses. He would search for disturbed earth, signs of unnatural movement, and whispers of evil that seemed to linger in the damp soil. And if he found what he sought, a grave that seemed alive with malevolent energy, the hunt would begin. The ritual itself was an ordeal, both for the vampire and the community. As families gathered in tense clusters, praying and hoping, he would unearth the grave with deliberate, careful movements, as though any sudden action could unleash the horror beneath. When the coffin was unearthed, villagers would hold their breaths, for this was the moment when the vampire might strike, desperate to defend its cursed form from destruction. But it was said that the vampire never wavered, no matter the horror he faced. He would take the iron tongs, clamp them around the vampire's neck with a practiced hand, and pin the creature down. The sight of that cursed, twisted body, filled with unnatural life, was enough to haunt those who watched, sending chills down the spine of even the bravest soul. With steady hands, he'd raise the wooden stake high and drive it through the vampire's heart, unleashing a scream that seemed to come not from the body, but from the depths of some unspeakable darkness. After the stake was driven in, his job was still far from done. The corpse would be decapitated, its body burned and the ashes scattered. The vampire knew that a vampire's thirst for life was unyielding, even in death. Every ritual had to be completed, each step precise and exact, for even a single mistake could allow the evil to escape, haunting the village once more. The villagers would finally breathe a sigh of relief, offering silent thanks and prayers. For the vampire however, relief was harder to find. His work left scars, not just on his body but deep within his spirit. Each encounter with a vampire took something from him, a small piece of his own humanity, eroded by the darkness he had to face. It was as though each vampire carried with it a curse, a shadow that would linger, forever tying him to the world of the dead. But he did not seek thanks, nor riches. The vampire lived a solitary life, moving through villages and forests with the quiet dignity of a man who knew his place, both feared and respected. For him, each vampire he faced was both a duty and a silent acknowledgement of the terrible knowledge he carried, the awareness that evil was not just a tale told to scare children, but a force that pulsed beneath the surface of the world, waiting for nightfall. The vampire hunters lived as reminders, echoes of an ancient truth. They were guardians who kept the boundary between life and death, watchers in the night who ensured that no cursed spirit could wander freely. And as long as they walked among them, the people could sleep a little more soundly, knowing that someone brave enough to confront the darkness was there, a man of flesh and blood, armed with ash wood and iron, a protector who kept the horrors of the night at bay. The winter nights in Bulgaria hold a mystery, a time when the world grows silent under the weight of the cold. In small villages, darkness gathers early, pressing against walls and windows as people huddle indoors, warming themselves by fires. It is during these deep, quiet months that a powerful ritual takes place, one filled with color, sound, and movement. The Kukeri appear, breaking the winter silence, bringing with them a fierce, ancient energy. These figures are no ordinary revelers. They are guardians, spirits clothed in elaborate costumes and masks, marching through villages to drive away every lingering shadow. As the Kukeri begin their ritual, a thrill fills the air, thick with excitement and something like fear. Children's eyes grow wide, and even the adults watch with a quiet awe. Draped in heavy, handcrafted costumes of animal furs, covered in feathers and painted with bright colors, these men become something otherworldly. They are transformed into the creatures of Bulgaria's deepest folklore. Their faces hidden behind grotesque, mesmerizing masks, they dance, stomp, and whirl through the streets, clutching bells and sticks that echo out in rhythmic clanging, filling every corner with sound. The noise isn't just for show, it's a call, a loud, defiant demand for evil spirits to flee, for every hidden malice lurking in winter's chill to find nowhere to hide. The masks are their magic. Large, exaggerated features, the crooked noses, sharp teeth, bulging eyes, stare down all who dare to look. Each mask, made with love and care, carries the marks of the craftsman's hands and the spirit of the forest and animals woven into it. Some Kukeri have horns, twisting out like the antlers of stags, others snouts that resemble wolves or foxes. Each face carries an ancient expression, frozen in a snarl or grin, meant to terrify any evil spirit that may dare to linger. Villagers say that a Kukeri mask, worn well, becomes a living thing, filled with a strange power that calls to something older than memory. The Kukeri aren't only meant to frighten away the dark, they also bring blessings for the land and people. During the harsh winters, when food is scarce and survival feels uncertain, every family hopes for a safe season, for enough to eat, for warmth. As the Kukeri dance through the villages, they perform small blessings, visiting houses and giving each a protective dance. People leave offerings for them, bread, fruit, small tokens of gratitude. To see the Kukeri is to feel shielded from harm, to believe, if only for a moment, that something greater is watching over. In some ways, the Kukeri dance is both fierce and tender, filled with gestures of both defense and grace. Their steps are ancient and specific, passed down through generations, a careful choreography that has been rehearsed since long before anyone can remember. The steps symbolize protection, fertility, and the turning away of all things dark and harmful. With each stomp, each swing of their sticks, they are casting a spell over the land, calling for new life, healthy crops, and for every evil spirit to leave. These movements, repeated year after year, bind the community, weaving everyone into a single shared heartbeat. The Kukeri festival is as much for the young as it is for the old. As the elders watch, memories stir, and they remember their own days as Kukeri, feeling again the power of wearing the mask, of marching as a spirit between worlds. For the young, it is a time of wonder and dreams. They may touch the fringes of the furs, peer into the eyes of the masks, hoping to one day wear one themselves. The Kukeri ritual lives in every heart, a bridge between generations, passing down the wisdom and protection of those who came before. Winter will pass, as it always does. But before it goes, it is tamed by the Kukeri's magic, by the courage and unity of people determined to stand against the shadows. With each year, this ritual returns, as vital and alive as the very first time. When the last dance is finished, when the final bells have echoed into silence, the world feels lighter, a little safer, held together by the strength of these powerful, protective spirits. And though their faces are hidden, everyone knows that under each mask is a neighbor, a friend, someone who loves the village and will guard it with every beat of their heart. On quiet evenings, when the wind whispers gently through fields and villages, stories begin to surface, stories of the Nevestolka, the tragic spirits of brides who never had the chance to say their vows. These ghostly brides drift through Bulgarian folklore, tied to the places where their hearts broke, where dreams of love and family turn to whispers and shadows. For those who have seen them, the air thickens with the sorrow of unfinished love, an ache that reaches across lifetimes. The Nevestolka aren't like any other spirits. There's a haunting beauty to them, as if they are caught forever in the hopeful glow of a bride's anticipation, but their faces are marked by something else, an unending sorrow that seeps into their soft smiles. People say they can appear at dusk, when the sun sinks low and the world takes on a soft glow, and that's when their faint outlines can be seen, draped in veils and wedding dresses that drift around them like mist. Their forms are almost real, but their skin has a softness, a translucency that doesn't belong to the living. They are drawn to places that once held joy, now touched by loss, the church where they were meant to wed, the fields where they laughed with their beloved, even the doorsteps of the homes they never had a chance to fill with warmth. The villagers tell stories of catching a glimpse of a bridal veil blowing in the wind when no one is there, or of flowers left mysteriously on the altar. There are tales of a haunting melody, soft and sorrowful, like a lullaby for dreams lost to time. Those who hear it say it fills them with a longing so deep it feels as if they, too, have lost something precious. There's a story that, on certain nights, the Nevastolka can be heard humming softly, a melody from their wedding day that they never had a chance to sing. It floats through the air, barely louder than the rustle of leaves, yet it strikes the heart with the weight of 1,000 memories. Those who hear it feel compelled to listen, as if the song could unlock an unspoken sadness within. Sometimes, the villagers leave flowers or candles in places thought to be visited by these ghostly brides, small tokens to honor lives cut short. A rose for the beauty that never bloomed, a candle to light their way. Some say that if you encounter a Nevastolka, she might look into your eyes, as if searching for the face of her lost love. The stories go that her gaze is piercing, intense, and yet filled with a tenderness that can break even the hardest heart. People say it's almost as if she's looking into the soul, not for harm but for solace, seeking some kind of unspoken comfort in knowing that someone remembers her pain. And in that moment, when she looks at you, it feels as if she is asking a question that words cannot frame, a longing to be understood, to be held, to be loved, even if only in memory. In the countryside, these spirits are not feared in the way that other ghosts are. Instead, they're met with a deep, aching sympathy. Older women tell tales of girls who left this world too soon, speaking of them as if they were family. They recount the tragedies that took these brides, an illness, an accident, or sometimes even a broken heart that led them away from this world. They say the Nevastolka are trapped not by choice, but by love that was so powerful it lingered, like a flame refusing to die. The tragedy of these brides touches everyone who hears their stories, for in each Nevastolka is a reminder of life's fragility, of love's power to haunt. Mothers tell their daughters of the brides who never were, hoping to remind them to cherish the love they have, to hold it close, for in Bulgaria, love is not something taken lightly. When the young hear these tales, they understand that the Nevastolka are not mere spirits, but the echoes of dreams cut short, the faces of joy that never had a chance to bloom. In the quiet of the night, when everything is still, one might feel a chill that has nothing to do with the air. It's said that if you ever feel a sudden sadness without reason, or a tear that forms without cause, it might just be a Nevastolka passing by, brushing you with the weight of her story, hoping to leave a piece of her heart with someone who remembers what it's like to love so deeply. It's a sadness that lingers long after, a sense that love never really fades, even if it's lost to the world. For the villagers, the Nevastolka are more than spirits. They are a reminder to love fiercely, to cherish each moment, for none know when their time may come. To encounter a Nevastolka is to be touched by something profoundly tender, to feel the heartbreak of love left waiting, an eternal promise whispered into the cold night air. And in that quiet space, where love and loss meet, it's said that the Nevastolka find a small piece of the peace they so desperately seek. The last breath of winter hangs in the air, cold and stubborn, yet there is something else, too, a shift, a tremor of warmth, like a hidden promise waiting to be revealed. This is the time of the daughters of Baba Marta, the mysterious spirits who bring with them the first whispers of spring, yet carry the lingering chill of winter. Known for their fickle, almost capricious ways, they are the reason March is unpredictable. In one moment, they send sunlight scattering across fields, and in the next, clouds roll in, bringing a sharp, cold breeze that bites the skin. The daughters of Baba Marta are said to be both beautiful and elusive, woven into the very fabric of the changing season. They arrive not with a bold entrance, but with subtle signs, the drip of melting snow, the softening of the earth, and the sudden bloom of a wildflower daring to peek out from the frost. Villagers know to look for these hints, knowing that the daughters are at work, nudging the world from the grip of winter. They are not to be seen or captured, only felt, a presence that flits between winter's final embrace and spring's warm welcome. Each of these daughters is thought to have her own personality, as unpredictable as March itself. Some are gentle, bringing soft winds that tease the hair and stir the grass. Others bring storms, a reminder that winter's hold does not loosen easily. When a day dawns bright and clear, only to end in a cold, unexpected rain, the people say it's the work of one of Baba Marta's daughters, a spirit with a mischievous heart. And when the sun breaks through after a long, gray morning, warming the world just enough to bring smiles, they know it's the influence of another, a kinder, more tender spirit, eager to bring light back to the land. People say that Baba Marta, the grandmother of March herself, watches over her daughters, guiding them as they dance between frost and thaw. And just as the month shifts and changes, so does Baba Marta's mood. She is the one who sends her daughters out, urging them to tease and test the resilience of the earth as it awakens. Her daughters are her whispers, her warnings, and her gifts all at once. When they bring a soft snowfall, it's Baba Marta's way of reminding everyone that winter hasn't quite finished its story. But when they bring warmth, it is her promise that spring is near. Throughout Bulgaria, people honor these spirits by wearing martinitsa, the red and white threads symbolizing health and happiness. As March unfolds, villagers pin them to their clothing or tie them around their wrists, hoping to gain the daughter's favor. For every child with a martinitsa, it's like a charm to win over these capricious spirits. And as soon as the first stork arrives or a budding tree is spotted, the martinitsas are tied to the branches in thanks, a symbol that the daughters of Baba Marta have been kind this year. There are tales of farmers who have watched their crops closely, knowing that a sudden frost could claim the first sprouts of life too soon. They speak of times when the daughters have seemed especially playful or stubborn, bringing both warm and cold in the same day, as if testing the patience of those who work the land. And yet, even as they curse the unexpected cold, there is reverence, a respect for the spirits who hold the reins of the season. For in their fickle hands lies the magic of transition, of change, of life reborn. Children, too, feel the presence of the daughters. They laugh and play under skies that shift from gray to blue, chasing the warmth as it touches their cheeks, only to pull their scarves tight when the cold sneaks in. Some say that if you're quiet enough, you might hear them, the laughter of the daughters of Baba Marta, teasing and twirling in the wind, moving like shadows that flicker between sunlight and shade. They are the keepers of the season's secrets, the ones who stir the stillness, who shake the world awake. At night, when a sudden frost settles over the fields, it is said that Baba Marta's daughters are resting, letting the world quiet down before they begin their work again. The villagers tuck themselves in, knowing that in the morning, the world could look different, touched by either the last breath of winter or the first stirrings of spring. It is a season caught between two worlds, and in this delicate balance, the daughters of Baba Marta hold the threads. To live in Bulgaria during March is to feel these spirits everywhere, in the warmth of a sunbeam, in the chill of an unexpected breeze, and the simple joy of seeing the first green shoots push through the ground. They bring with them the promise of new beginnings, tempered by the reminder of what winter taught. And so, each March, the people wait, wrapped in their martinitsa, hoping for the gentle touch of Baba Marta's daughters and for the warmth that signals spring's true arrival. Late at night, when the world is still and silence presses down like a heavy blanket, something stirs in the shadows, unseen and unbidden. Mara, the spirit of nightmares, slips into the room, lingering in the spaces between sleep and wakefulness. Her presence is a chill in the air, a prickle at the base of the neck, and the inexplicable weight pressing down on the chest, leaving the dreamer trapped, wide-eyed, in a state of frozen dread. Mara is not just a figment of imagination but an ancient spirit, known for centuries in Bulgarian folklore as the embodiment of nightmares. Those who felt her presence describe the experience as haunting, almost otherworldly. When she arrives, she comes silently, gliding over the floor, her form barely visible, often appearing as a shadow or a vapor that drifts toward the sleeper. She brings with her a darkness that slips into the mind, conjuring visions of fears, worries, and all that lies hidden in the soul. Mara's touch is like ice, gentle yet menacing, as if reaching into the depths of the mind and drawing out the worst horrors within. Children are often warned about her, told to sleep well and keep their spirits pure, for Mara seeks out the troubled, the ones harboring pain or sorrow. To them, she brings the most terrible dreams, dreams so vivid, so haunting, that they linger in the mind long after dawn breaks. Her nightmares can leave people breathless, gasping, their hearts pounding as they struggle to wake, but find themselves paralyzed in that moment of terror, unable to scream or move. Legends tell of Mara as a slender, shadowy figure with hollow eyes that seem to pierce through the darkness. Some say she wears a shroud as dark as the night itself, others that she is a wraith-like figure, her face half hidden, leaving only glimpses of her ghostly features. In Bulgarian homes, people have often spoken of a sudden coldness filling the room in the dead of night, a sign that Mara is near. Her presence is unmistakable to those who felt it, an overpowering dread, a fear that feels alive, coiling around them as they lie helpless, caught in her grip. Those who fear Mara believe that she preys on vulnerability. In times of sickness, grief, or worry, Mara finds an opening, slipping into dreams and twisting them into nightmares. A gentle memory of a loved one might turn sour and sorrowful, familiar places become labyrinths of dread, and comforting faces change into something unrecognizable. When Mara takes hold, she drags the sleeper down paths filled with shadows, the air thick with an overwhelming sense of danger. Mara's power isn't just in her ability to cause fear, it's in her ability to make the sleeper feel utterly alone. In her grasp, even the strongest spirit can feel isolated, lost within the depths of a nightmare they cannot escape. She conjures visions of desolate landscapes, endless corridors, and dark forests that stretch on forever, each one twisting and turning in ways that make escape impossible. There is no light in Mara's world, no comfort, only shadows and the unsettling sense that something is always watching, waiting. In the morning, people wake shaken, with the memory of Mara's visit lingering like a dark cloud over them. They speak of how the nightmare felt real, of how every sound, every shadow seemed to have a life of its own. Some say that Mara's presence can linger, affecting their dreams for days, each night bringing another unsettling vision, as if she has taken a liking to her new host. In Bulgarian culture, rituals and charms are often used to ward off Mara, to keep her from invading the sacred space of sleep. Small bundles of herbs, symbols of protection, or words whispered in prayer are kept near the bed, each one a silent plea for peace from the haunting spirit. The fear of Mara has even led to traditions meant to ward her off. Mothers would place protective symbols near their children's beds, hoping to shield them from her dark influence. It's said that covering mirrors at night can keep Mara from finding her way into the room, as mirrors are thought to be gateways through which spirits can travel. Families who sense her presence in their homes turn to blessings and protective rites, hoping to reclaim the night from her grasp. But despite the fear she instills, Mara is not purely malevolent. In some tales, she is seen as a reminder, a spirit that forces people to confront what they would rather ignore. She brings to light hidden fears, sorrows, and regrets, giving form to the darkness within. In this sense, Mara is a creature of truth, as harsh as it may be. Her nightmares hold a mirror to the soul, and through the terrifying journey she leads people on, some find clarity, a way to face their inner demons. Even so, no one welcomes Mara's visit. She is a figure who belongs to the darkness, a specter who steps out of the shadows only to leave behind a lingering fear that the next time sleep comes, she might return. Late at night, when stars vanish behind clouds and silence covers the village, there's a chill that seeps into every home, a fear mothers and fathers can't quite shake. In these dark hours, they say, spirits and mysterious creatures wander among us, drawn especially to the innocent, to the warmth and purity of babies sleeping soundly in their cradles. This is when tales of changelings begin, of infants spirited away and replaced with something strange, something not quite human. The fear of the changeling is rooted in a parent's worst nightmare, the idea that their beloved child could be taken, leaving behind a creature that only looks like their baby. In hushed voices, people share tales of babies who change overnight. Once rosy-cheeked and bright-eyed, they become hollow and pale, their gazes distant and empty. They cry without stopping, their wails a high-pitched keening that chills the listener to the bone. Parents notice how their once familiar child suddenly avoids eye contact, or reacts violently to small things, or grows cold to their touch. Some swear they've seen glimmers in the child's eyes that are too wise, too old, as if something ancient were looking back at them. Folklore holds that these swapped children, these changelings, are not abandoned humans but otherworldly beings, spirits, or fae, who covet the essence of the human child they've taken. Some say they're left behind as a mockery, a cruel game played by unseen beings who have taken the real child to an unknown realm. Others believe the changelings need to steal human vitality, thriving on the warmth and love meant for the stolen child. Stories about changeling encounters drift from village to village, each one unique but always haunted by the same theme, despair and helplessness. In one well-known tale, a mother in a small Bulgarian town noticed her son had changed overnight. Once laughing and filled with life, he became withdrawn, shying away from her touch, his cries turning shrill and heart-wrenching. She began to notice strange things, like the way his gaze seemed empty, his limbs too heavy and his expressions cold. Desperate, she sought out an old village woman known for her knowledge of such matters. The woman examined the child, her wrinkled hands hovering over him as she muttered incantations under her breath. When she looked back at the mother, her face was grim. "This is not your son," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The villagers believed certain protective practices could ward off changelings and keep children safe from the night spirits who roamed in search of infants. New mothers would often place iron nails or scissors under the crib, believing the metal would repel fae and spirits from nearing the child. Others would tie red ribbons around the baby's wrists or place garlic under the pillow. Some even marked the cradle with chalk, tracing protective symbols to shield their little one from being taken. In another story, a father from the mountains discovered his child was swapped after his baby daughter began acting strangely. She refused to sleep, her cries filling the cabin each night, unsettling and eerie. She would fix her gaze on empty corners, as if watching something only she could see. Her movements were stiff, unnatural, and her small, once delicate hands began to scratch at her bed, leaving marks in the wood. It was his grandmother who recognized the signs, urging him to take the child out to the village square and lay her on a bed of herbs before dawn. They say he did just that, praying through tears as the baby's wails turned into silence, then into a strange laughter that seemed to echo in the stillness. When dawn broke, his daughter returned to her crib, whole and unblemished, with no memory of the night's terror. Even in modern times, whispers about changelings persist. Though people may not speak of it openly, many still hold on to old habits, tucking amulets under mattresses or lighting candles beside cradles. There is a quiet, unspoken acknowledgement that some mysteries are beyond our understanding, and that the changeling, with all its dark implications, is not something to be taken lightly. Some speak of children who grew up feeling out of place, haunted by memories that weren't theirs, or by dreams of a world cloaked in mist and shadow. They remember the feeling of being watched, of hearing soft murmurs as if from far away. In certain regions, changeling tales took on even darker forms. Some believed that the only way to confirm a changeling was to provoke it, to make it reveal its true nature. A few daring parents were said to have placed their strange child on hot coals, believing the heat would force the creature to abandon its disguise. Others would expose the changeling to the cold, hoping it would react in ways no human child would. And in some heartbreaking cases, children were left outside in the hopes that the supernatural would return the stolen child in exchange. Today, the changeling legend still stirs something primal in us, a fear that resonates with anyone who has ever loved a child or cared for something precious. The stories may seem distant, echoing from a time long past, yet they touch on an anxiety as old as humanity itself, the fragility of life, the fear of loss, and the darkness that sometimes lurks just beyond the warmth of home. For every legend told, for every whispered warning passed from one generation to the next, there's an underlying truth. Sometimes, the line between this world and the other is thinner than we'd like to believe. When the moon hangs high in the night sky and the air is thick with the scent of pine, an ancient mystery stirs in the shadows of the Bulgarian forests. The haunting calls of wolves echo through the trees, a sound that sends shivers down the spine yet also brings a strange sense of comfort. These creatures are more than mere animals, they are guardians, guides, and symbols woven into the very fabric of Bulgarian mythology. Stories of wolves shape our understanding of the wilderness and the spirit world, reflecting our deepest fears and greatest hopes. In the tales passed down through generations, wolves embody a dual nature, a mix of strength and mystery, loyalty and ferocity. To the ancient Bulgarians, wolves were seen as fierce protectors of the land, a reminder of the wildness that exists in both nature and humanity. They roamed the forests, watching over the people who lived there, and in return, the villagers honored them with offerings and respect. When a wolf howled at night, it was more than a call, it was a message, a reminder that the wild and the civilized are interconnected. Wolves are often depicted as shapeshifters in Bulgarian folklore, creatures capable of transforming into humans or other forms. These legends speak of individuals who, under the light of the full moon, could shed their human skin and don the guise of a wolf. This transformation was not seen as a curse, but rather as a gift, a way to tap into the primal instincts and strength of the wolf. Those who could shift forms were believed to possess great wisdom and the ability to see beyond the ordinary. They could traverse the boundaries between the human world and the spirit realm, acting as bridges between two realities. One powerful tale tells of a shepherd who became a wolf to protect his flock from danger. When a pack of wolves threatened his sheep, he felt the pull of the wild within him. Under the shimmering moonlight, he embraced his inner beast, transforming into a wolf himself. With a growl that echoed through the mountains, he stood beside his flock, ready to defend them against the predators. As the wolves approached, they sensed the strength of their own kind in him, and rather than attacking, they backed down. The shepherd returned to his human form at dawn, a guardian reborn, forever linked to the wolves that roamed the hills. These stories also illustrate the wolves' role as guides on life's journey. In Bulgarian mythology, encountering a wolf is often a sign that a person is on the brink of a significant transformation. Wolves possess an innate understanding of the world, leading individuals toward their destinies. It is said that if a person finds themselves lost in the woods, they should listen for the howl of a wolf. Following that sound will lead them to safety, just as the wolf follows the paths of the earth. The connection between humans and wolves is one of trust. The wolf is a guide through the dark, a reminder that one is never truly alone, even in the most challenging times. One poignant tale speaks of a young woman wandering through the forest, searching for her lost love. Heartbroken and weary, she stumbled through the underbrush, calling his name. Just as despair began to settle in her heart, she heard a distant howl. The sound resonated with something deep inside her, igniting a flicker of hope. She followed the call, her heart pounding in her chest. The wolf emerged from the shadows, its eyes shining like stars in the night sky. It stood before her, fierce yet gentle, as if to say, "Follow me." Trusting the creature, she stepped forward, letting the wolf lead her through the thickets and brambles. With every twist and turn, the weight on her heart began to lift. The forest opened up, revealing paths she could not see before. Finally, as dawn broke, the wolf brought her to a clearing where her lost love stood, waiting for her return. The two embraced, their hearts intertwining once more, and when they looked back, the wolf had vanished into the mist. Wolves are also seen as protectors of the family unit in Bulgarian culture. They symbolize loyalty, courage, and the bonds that tie us together. Families would tell stories of the wolf pack, emphasizing the importance of unity and support. A wolf, in its own way, mirrors the fierce love and protectiveness of a parent, willing to fight against any threat to keep its young safe. In a world where modernity sometimes overshadows tradition, the spirit of the wolf still resonates in the hearts of many. People still gather around fires, sharing stories of their ancestors and the wolves that watched over them. They pass down rituals that honor these magnificent creatures, teaching their children the importance of respect for nature and the connection between all living beings. Even today, when the moon rises high and the howls pierce the night, the legacy of the wolf endures. They remind us of the wildness that exists in our souls, a call to embrace both our strengths and vulnerabilities. In the eyes of a wolf, we find not just a fierce creature of the night, but a mirror reflecting our own instincts, our desires, and our deepest fears. The stories of wolves in Bulgarian mythology touch the heart, revealing the complex relationship we share with nature, with ourselves, and with those we love. So, the next time you hear the distant howl of a wolf, remember the legends. Listen closely, for it may be a call to adventure, a reminder of the guardian spirit that walks beside you, guiding you through the dark woods of life. In the stillness of twilight, when the sun dips below the horizon, the waters of rivers and lakes shimmer like liquid glass, reflecting the last rays of light. Yet, beneath this serene surface, an ancient spirit stirs. The Castia rusalka, a haunting figure of beauty and sorrow, lingers in the depths, forever tied to the tales of love lost and lives taken too soon. Her story is a haunting melody, echoing the tragedy of those who have drowned, drawing in the unsuspecting and captivating the hearts of many. The Castia rusalka is often described as a beautiful young woman, her hair long and flowing, adorned with water lilies that float gracefully around her. Her skin glistens with a sheen reminiscent of morning dew, and her eyes hold the depths of the rivers and lakes themselves, mysterious, alluring, and tinged with sadness. Yet, this beauty is not merely enchanting, it carries the weight of sorrow and longing, a reflection of her tragic fate. Legends tell of how she was once a living woman, full of dreams and aspirations. A tragic twist of fate led her to the water's edge, where she met her untimely end. Some say she drowned in a desperate attempt to escape a love that was never meant to be, while others whisper of a betrayal that plunged her into despair. Regardless of how her life ended, the water became her eternal home, and she transformed into a rusalka, a spirit destined to haunt the very rivers and lakes that claimed her. The Castia rusalka does not haunt with malice, but rather with a profound longing for connection. She is often seen beckoning to those who wander too close to her watery realm, her voice a haunting lullaby that drifts on the evening breeze. Many who have heard her song describe it as both beautiful and chilling, a sound that echoes through the stillness, urging them to approach the water. But with each step toward her, there is a sense of danger, a feeling that one may not return. In some tales, the rusalka lures young men into the depths, whispering promises of love and eternal companionship. They become entranced by her beauty and are drawn to her, unaware of the peril that lies beneath the surface. Once they step into the water, the enchanting illusion shatters. The Castia rusalka's true nature reveals itself, and the water becomes their tomb. Those who vanish in this way are believed to become part of her spirit, forever lost to the world above. But it is not just the men who fall victim to her allure. The rusalka is also known to mourn for those who have drowned. She can be seen weeping along the banks of the rivers, her tears merging with the waters, creating ripples that shimmer under the moonlight. Villagers often speak of how they feel a chill in the air when she is near, a sense of sadness that washes over them, reminding them of the lives lost to the water's depths. In Bulgarian folklore, the Castia rusalka embodies the belief that water holds the spirits of the deceased. Lakes and rivers are seen as gateways between the worlds of the living and the dead. To honor the lost souls, families would leave offerings by the water's edge, flowers, food, and small tokens of remembrance. This practice was a way to soothe the restless spirits, to honor their memory, and perhaps to seek protection from the vengeful side of the Castia rusalka. The rusalka's connection to tragic love stories has also permeated local culture. Many songs and ballads speak of her tale, weaving narratives of heartbreak, loss, and the beauty of fleeting moments. In these stories, she serves as a reminder of love's fragility, urging listeners to cherish their relationships and the bonds they share. The sorrow embedded in her legend resonates deeply, reminding us of our humanity, our capacity for love and loss. As darkness falls, the rivers and lakes take on an otherworldly glow. Underneath the surface, the Castia rusalka stirs, forever watching, forever longing. She waits for those brave enough to approach, to listen to her story, and to understand the depths of her sorrow. The air thickens with emotion, and a shiver runs down the spine of those who dare to linger too long. Despite her tragic nature, the Castia rusalka also embodies resilience. She is a reminder that even in death, there is life. Her spirit flows through the waters, intertwining with the very essence of nature. The rivers continue to flow, the lakes remain calm, and life goes on. But for those who stop to listen, who take a moment to reflect, the haunting beauty of her story will forever linger in their hearts. In the glow of the moonlight, when the water glistens like diamonds, a profound understanding can emerge. The Castia rusalka is not just a spirit of tragedy, she represents the connection between love and loss, life and death. Her presence urges us to cherish every moment, to recognize the beauty in our relationships, and to honor those who have come before us. And so, as the night deepens and the whispers of the water carry tales of the past, remember the Castia rusalka, the spirit of the waters. She embodies a world of emotions, a story that flows eternally beneath the surface, inviting you to listen, to feel, and to remember. In the quiet of the night, when the stars twinkle above and the water lures you in, her melody will echo, reminding you of the love that binds us all, even in the face of tragedy. In the stillness of a moonlit night, when shadows dance across the landscape and the air is thick with unspoken promises, the Zalog stirs. This mysterious creature, often unseen yet always felt, roams the earth, enforcing oaths and binding promises with an iron grip. A guardian of integrity, the Zalog embodies the weight of every word spoken, the promises made in sincerity, and the dire consequences of betrayal. Legends paint the Zalog as a creature of both fear and respect. It is said to appear as a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light that pierces through the night. With a presence that sends chills down the spine, the Zalog is a reminder that words carry power, and the promises we make can bind us in ways we never imagined. When a vow is uttered, the Zalog listens intently, its ears attuned to the slightest hint of insincerity. Those who make an oath in the Zalog's presence feel an immediate shift in the atmosphere. The air grows heavy, as if the very essence of the promise hangs around them. The gravity of the words spoken becomes palpable. The Zalog knows that intentions matter. A sincere promise binds two souls together, while a careless or deceitful oath may invite the creature's wrath. The consequences of breaking an oath are severe. Legends tell of individuals who, driven by desperation or greed, uttered promises they never intended to keep. The Zalog watches and waits, ensuring that they are held accountable for their actions. Those who break their vows often find themselves haunted by misfortune, their lives spiraling into chaos. Illness, loss, and heartbreak follow them like a shadow, as if the very fabric of their existence unravels. Families share stories around the fire about the Zalog, cautioning their children to speak only what they mean. They recount the tale of a young man who swore to protect his sister. In a moment of anger, he broke that promise, and the Zalog swiftly enacted its punishment. The young man lost everything, his job, his friends, and eventually, even his home. His sister, once a beacon of light in his life, faded into darkness, her trust shattered. He became a wanderer, forever searching for redemption that never came. In these stories, the Zalog serves as both a warning and a lesson. The creature instills fear, yes, but it also encourages honesty and integrity. Communities learn to value their words, to be mindful of the promises they make. Oaths are no longer taken lightly, they are seen as sacred bonds that should be honored, not broken. People offer prayers to the Zalog, seeking its blessing before entering into any agreement. Rituals are performed to ensure that promises are made in good faith. Often, small tokens are exchanged, items that hold sentimental value, symbolizing the bond of trust being forged. The Zalog is said to favor such gestures, recognizing the sincerity behind them. In return, it protects the promise, safeguarding it against the winds of betrayal. The Zalog's influence can also be felt in romantic relationships. Couples approach their unions with reverence, knowing that their vows carry weight. When love is expressed in the presence of the Zalog, it becomes a force that transcends time. Couples recount the tale of a pair who pledged their love under the watchful eyes of the creature. Their bond remained unbreakable, even in the face of adversity. The Zalog, witnessing their love, vowed to protect them, and they thrived together against all odds. However, the Zalog is not without compassion. It understands the complexity of human emotions, recognizing that life is filled with unforeseen circumstances. In moments of genuine remorse, when a broken promise is acknowledged, the Zalog can show mercy. Those who seek forgiveness and strive to make amends may find that the weight of their misdeeds lessens. It listens to the sincerity of their hearts and may allow them to regain their lost honor. As the night deepens and the moon hangs high in the sky, the Zalog moves silently through the shadows, a keeper of secrets and promises. It embodies the belief that our words hold immense power. In its presence, hearts become heavy with the knowledge that every oath carries consequences and every broken promise echoes through time. People often pause to reflect before they speak, remembering the tales of the Zalog and the lives touched by its influence. They find themselves whispering their intentions to the night, feeling a sense of peace when they know their words align with their actions. The Zalog reminds them that their promises are not just words, they are bonds of trust that weave through the fabric of their lives. When the sun rises, casting light on the world, the Zalog recedes into the shadows, its work done for now. It leaves behind a lingering awareness, a reminder of the importance of honesty and the weight of promises made. As people go about their day, they carry the knowledge that the Zalog is always watching, always listening, ready to enforce the oaths they make. In the quiet moments of reflection, when one contemplates their words, the Zalog serves as both a guardian and a reminder. Its presence is felt in every heartfelt promise, every act of kindness, and every vow taken with sincerity. It teaches us that our words can shape our destinies, that the bonds we create are powerful, and that we must honor the commitments we make. The Zalog stands as a testament to the enduring power of promises, a creature that keeps watch over the heart's intentions. In its wake, lives are changed, and the echoes of oaths resonate through time, binding people together in ways that transcend the ordinary. Through the Zalog, we learn to value our words, understanding that they can build bridges or tear them down. As we navigate the complexities of life, we remember the weight of our promises and the supernatural consequences that may follow should we stray from the path of sincerity. In the stillness of the night, when the world is cloaked in darkness and the air feels electric, the midnight fae awaken. These enchanting beings, known for their shimmering wings and ethereal glow, flit about under the moonlight, appearing only at the stroke of midnight. They possess a power that can either bless or curse those who cross their path. Travelers who find themselves wandering through the dark must tread carefully, for the midnight fae hold the keys to fortune and misfortune alike. Legends speak of the midnight fae as tricksters and helpers. Some say they are guardians of the night, watching over those who venture into the wilderness. Their laughter, light as a breeze, can be heard echoing through the trees, beckoning those lost in thought. But beware. This laughter can turn sinister in an instant. Those who approach without caution may find themselves caught in a web of illusions, wandering further into the forest, lost in a maze of shadows. The stories of those who have encountered the midnight fae are both mesmerizing and chilling. One traveler, a weary soul seeking solace, stumbled upon a clearing bathed in moonlight. As he entered, he felt a surge of warmth wash over him, and there, dancing among the flowers, were the fae, their laughter ringing like bells. Enchanted by their beauty, he sat down to watch, his heart light with wonder. The fae approached him, their wings glimmering like stars, and offered him a small vial filled with shimmering liquid. They promised it would grant him wisdom and clarity, a gift for those brave enough to wander alone at night. With gratitude swelling in his heart, the traveler accepted the vial. Yet, as he drank, he felt the warmth turn to coldness, as if the very essence of the night seeped into his bones. In that moment, he realized the fae had given him not wisdom, but a burden. He could now see the truth behind every deceit, every falsehood, and every whispered promise. The weight of knowledge pressed heavily upon him, leaving him haunted by the lies of the world. Others, however, have been blessed by the midnight fae. A young girl, lost in the woods while searching for her way home, stumbled upon their midnight revelry. Frightened but curious, she watched from behind a tree. The fae danced with abandon, their laughter a melody that filled her heart with joy. One fae, noticing her presence, floated over and offered her a glowing flower. "Take this, dear child," she said with a gentle smile. "It will light your way." With the flower in hand, the girl found her way home, the light guiding her through the darkness. From that night on, she carried the flower, a reminder of the kindness the midnight fae could offer. But not all encounters end in happiness. A wise old man once wandered into the realm of the fae, seeking answers to the sorrows that plagued his village. He approached the fae, his heart full of hope, asking for guidance. They listened, their eyes twinkling with mischief. Instead of the wisdom he sought, they led him on a wild chase through the forest, laughing as he stumbled over roots and fallen branches. Hours passed, and as dawn broke, he found himself back where he began, exhausted and empty-handed. The midnight fae had played with him, teaching him that not all questions have answers, and that sometimes the journey itself is the lesson. The tales of the midnight fae remind us of the duality of their nature. They can be whimsical and wise, yet capricious and cruel. Their motives are often shrouded in mystery, leaving travelers to wonder whether they are friend or foe. Many people believe that if you encounter them, the key to winning their favor lies in showing respect. A simple offering, a song, a dance, or a kind word can turn their gaze from mischief to goodwill. The midnight fae also represent the wildness of nature, untamed and beautiful. They embody the magic that exists in the unseen corners of our world, the moments when reality blurs into something extraordinary. Their presence serves as a reminder of the power of the night, of the secrets that lie hidden beneath the surface. Those who embrace the magic of the night may find themselves rewarded with glimpses of wonder, while those who dismiss it may suffer the consequences of their disregard. As the clock strikes midnight, the night comes alive with possibilities. Those who walk the path of the unknown might hear whispers on the breeze, urging them to explore the mysteries of the dark. It is said that if you listen closely, you can catch snippets of the fae's conversations, their laughter echoing like music through the trees. Some swear they have seen the glimmers of their wings as they dart between the branches, always just out of reach. In the hearts of those who believe, the midnight fae symbolize hope and danger, freedom and constraint. They remind us that life is full of surprises, that the night holds secrets waiting to be discovered. To wander in the moonlight is to dance with the unknown, to embrace the beauty and uncertainty of existence. The midnight fae challenge us to confront our fears, to seek our own truths, and to remember that we are never truly alone. Every encounter with the midnight fae is a story waiting to be told, a lesson waiting to be learned. They hold the power to shape our destinies, guiding us toward light or drawing us into shadows. As the night deepens and the world quiets, the magic of the fae lingers in the air, waiting for the next curious soul to step into their realm. In the embrace of the night, we find the courage to dream, to believe in the extraordinary, and to cherish the whispers of the midnight fae. In the shadows of Bulgarian folklore, a figure looms larger than life, whispering chilling tales to children tucked away in their beds. This figure is Stra, the embodiment of fear, a spirit whose very name sends shivers down the spines of those who hear it. Stra is not just a character from stories, he represents the raw, unfiltered terror that can grip hearts and turn brave souls into quivering shadows. Children often hear tales of Stra on stormy nights, when the wind howls like a pack of wolves and the rain lashes against the windows. Be good, or Stra will come for you, their parents warn, invoking the name of the spirit to instill obedience and caution. In the safety of their rooms, kids let their imaginations run wild, picturing Stra lurking in the dark corners, waiting to pounce on any disobedient child. Stra is depicted in many forms, but one of the most haunting is that of a tall, shadowy figure with hollow eyes that seem to swallow the light. His presence is suffocating, as if the very air around him thickens with dread. His long, claw-like fingers stretch out, ready to clutch the unwary. Many children believe they can feel his icy breath against their necks when they misbehave, sending them scurrying to their parents for comfort. But Stra's influence reaches far beyond mere bedtime tales. He embodies the fears that lurk within all of us, the fear of the dark, the unknown, and the consequences of our actions. These tales often serve as cautionary reminders for children to be kind, honest, and brave. A little girl, frightened by the stories, once decided to face her fears. Gathering her courage, she climbed into bed one night, determined to confront Stra if he dared to show himself. "I am not afraid of you," she shouted into the darkness. The air felt thick with silence, and her heart raced. Suddenly, the shadows flickered, and she heard a soft whisper. "Why do you fear me?" Straw asked, his voice echoing like a distant thunder. The girl, trembling yet resolute, replied, "I fear you because you represent everything that scares me." Straw paused, taken aback by her bravery. Instead of terror, he felt a pang of something he hadn't felt in ages, understanding. In that moment, Straw revealed himself not just as a spirit of fear, but as a guardian of sorts. He explained to the girl that fear was a natural part of life. It could protect her, make her aware of dangers, and push her to be stronger. "Embrace your fear," he told her. "It will guide you when the path is dark and uncertain." The girl's eyes widened with realization. Instead of running from her fears, she could learn from them. Straw faded back into the shadows, leaving her with a newfound strength. Straw's lessons are echoed in countless stories passed down through generations. There's the tale of a brave boy who faced a fearsome wolf while wandering through the forest. Instead of fleeing, he remembered the stories of Straw. He stood tall and faced the creature, his heart pounding. "You cannot frighten me," he declared. The wolf, taken aback by the boy's bravery, simply turned and walked away. In that moment, the boy learned that fear often crumbles in the face of courage. As the years passed, adults too found themselves reflecting on Straw's teachings. The spirit of fear became a part of their lives, reminding them that fear could be a teacher, a warning, and a source of strength. In times of crisis, when uncertainty gripped their hearts, they whispered Straw's name, drawing comfort from the tales of bravery that had shaped their childhood. The spirit of Straw is often depicted during festivals, where people gather to share stories and celebrate the strength found in overcoming fears. At these gatherings, the air is thick with laughter, but there's also a shared acknowledgement of the darkness that exists within everyone. They tell tales of their childhood encounters with Straw, how they faced their fears, and how they emerged stronger on the other side. Straw's influence extends beyond personal fears. He embodies societal fears, too, the fear of change, the fear of the unknown, and the fear of loss. In times of hardship, when communities face uncertainty, the stories of Straw become a source of unity. They gather around fires, sharing stories of resilience, reminding one another that fear can be transformed into hope. In every whispered tale, Straw teaches that fear is not to be feared, it is to be understood and embraced. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. Children learn that even the most terrifying figures can teach valuable lessons. Adults remember that, in their darkest moments, they too can confront their fears and emerge stronger. Through the stories of Straw, fear becomes a bridge between generations, connecting the past with the present. Each tale, while sending chills down the spine, also ignites a flicker of courage. Straw reminds us that while darkness may surround us, the light of bravery can always shine through. As children curl up under their blankets, they may hear the faint whisper of Straw, urging them to be brave, to embrace their fears, and to remember that even in the face of terror, there lies the strength to overcome. In the quiet corners of the world, just beyond the flickering light of the campfire, there exists a realm shrouded in mystery. Here, in the shadows, dwell the shadow folk, an unseen people who live alongside us, yet remain hidden from our eyes. Their existence is woven into the fabric of countless tales, tales that send shivers down spines and spark a deep, lingering curiosity. Children often hear whispers of the shadow folk as they huddle under their blankets, the night pressing close against their windows. "Be careful where you step," the elders say, eyes twinkling with both caution and wonder. The shadow folk may be watching. It's a warning, but also a reminder that the world is far more complex than it appears. These shadowy figures are said to blend seamlessly with the night, moving silently and leaving behind only the faintest echo of their presence. As the sun sets and darkness drapes itself over the land, the stories of the shadow folk come alive. They are said to possess an ancient wisdom, knowledge of the earth and its secrets, and the ability to navigate the unseen pathways between our world and theirs. Some say they can bring good fortune, while others believe they are mischievous tricksters, playing games with the unsuspecting. One evening, a young girl named Lila, tired of hearing only tales of caution, decided to uncover the truth about the shadow folk. With her heart pounding with excitement and fear, she slipped out of her warm bed and tiptoed into the moonlit garden. The air was crisp, and the stars shone brightly, illuminating the shadows that danced along the ground. If they are real, she thought, maybe they'll show themselves to me. As she wandered deeper into the garden, Lila felt an odd sensation, as though the air thickened around her. The shadows seemed to swirl and pulse with life. Suddenly, a figure emerged, slender and ethereal, with eyes that glimmered like stars. Lila gasped, a mix of awe and fear bubbling within her. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I am one of the shadow folk," the figure replied, its voice soft and melodic. "I am here to guide you, if you are willing to see." Lila's heart raced as she stepped forward, drawn by an invisible thread. "What do you mean?" "The world is not as it seems," the shadow folk explained, gesturing to the garden around them. "We live in the shadows, hidden from your eyes, but we are here, watching, waiting." It spoke of how the shadow folk could feel the weight of joy and sorrow, how they cared deeply for the mortal world. They could sense the dreams and fears of those who walked in light. Curiosity burned bright within Lila. "But why are you hidden?" she asked, confusion weaving through her thoughts. The shadow folk paused, its eyes reflecting a deep sadness. "We exist to remind you of the unseen. People often forget that there is more to life than what they can see. They lose touch with the mysteries that surround them." Lila listened intently as the shadow folk continued. "We are protectors of dreams, guardians of secrets. We dance in the shadows, reminding you to look beyond the surface. But sometimes, our presence is overlooked, and that is when we feel the loneliest." A pang of empathy struck Lila's heart. She thought of all the times she had felt invisible, the moments when her thoughts seemed to fade into the background. "You're not alone," she said softly. "I see you." The shadow folk smiled, a gentle, fleeting expression that made Lila's heart swell. "You are one of the rare ones who can see us. Hold on to that gift." With that, the figure began to fade, blending back into the shadows. "Remember, we are always here, just beyond the light." As Lila made her way back to her bed, the night felt different. She had crossed a bridge between worlds, and a part of her would never be the same. The shadow folk taught her that it's okay to exist in the background, that every shadow has a story, and that everyone, everywhere, has the power to see more than what meets the eye. Days turned into weeks, and Lila found herself looking for signs of the shadow folk everywhere she went. In the rustling of the leaves, the flicker of candlelight, and the soft laughter of the wind, she began to sense their presence. She shared her experience with friends, urging them to pay attention to the small things, to notice the little wonders that danced at the edge of their vision. Some of her friends listened, intrigued by her tales, while others dismissed them, laughing as they retold the story of the shadow folk around their own campfires. But Lila didn't mind. She knew that the hidden people were still there, watching over her and those who chose to believe. As years passed, Lila grew into a wise young woman, carrying the lessons of the shadow folk close to her heart. She spoke of them not as mere myths, but as a reminder of the depth of existence. Whenever someone felt lost, she would share her story, igniting a spark of wonder in their hearts. "You may not see them," she would say, "but the shadow folk are here. They remind us to look beyond, to see the beauty hidden in the dark." And so, the legend of the shadow folk continued, living on in the hearts of those willing to believe. Their spirit lingered in the whispers of the night, the laughter in the dark, and the gentle reminder that not everything needs to be seen to be felt. As the shadows danced and flickered, they carried with them the stories of those who dared to look a little closer, opening their eyes to a world filled with wonder and enchantment. The field stretched wide under the golden sun, each blade of grass shimmering like a tiny emerald. For the farmers of the village, the harvest was not just a season, it was a lifeline, a time of celebration, but also a moment filled with hope and fear. They believed that unseen spirits roamed their lands, protecting their crops or, if angered, cursing their efforts. These were the harvest spirits, guardians of the fields who held the power of life and death over the fruits of their labor. As the harvest season approached, the villagers prepared not only to reap what they had sown, but also to honor these spirits. The air buzzed with excitement, yet a palpable tension lingered, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. What if the spirits turned away from them? What if their hard work was wasted? Each family gathered to discuss the rituals they would perform, hoping to please the spirits and ensure a bountiful harvest. On the eve of the festival, children danced around the village square, their laughter echoing through the cool night air. They played games that echoed the rhythm of the fields, mimicking the planting and harvesting motions that their parents had performed all year. The aroma of freshly baked bread mingled with the sweet scent of fruits and vegetables, creating a feast for the senses. Lanterns lit up the night, casting warm glows that flickered like fireflies in the dark. Among the villagers was a young boy named Ivan. His heart raced with excitement as he watched the preparations unfold. He had always been fascinated by the stories his grandmother told him about the harvest spirits. She would speak of them as if they were family, spirits with gentle eyes, watching over the fields, guiding the seeds to grow and bloom. Yet, there were tales of wrath too. When crops failed, it was said that the spirits had been angered, perhaps due to carelessness or disrespect. As the festivities began, Ivan took a moment to reflect. He could feel the energy in the air, a mixture of hope and anxiety. He remembered the time when their crops had wilted under the unforgiving sun. The villagers had gathered, faces pale with worry, praying for rain and the spirits' favor. That year had been tough, and the memory still lingered in the hearts of many. It was then that Ivan decided he wanted to understand the spirits better, to find a way to ensure they were always honored and revered. With newfound determination, he sought the wisest villagers, listening to their stories and observing their rituals. They spoke of offerings, small gifts left at the edges of the fields, like fresh bread, honey, and flowers. These were tokens of gratitude, meant to please the spirits and show respect for the land. Ivan learned about the dance of the Harvest Festival, a traditional movement that celebrated the earth and its bounty, expressing thanks for the past and hope for the future. On the day of the Harvest Festival, Ivan watched as the villagers came together. They sang songs filled with joy and gratitude, their voices rising like the smoke from the bonfire. The atmosphere was electric, each laugh echoing like a heartbeat. Yet, in the back of Ivan's mind lingered a shadow of doubt. What if the spirits didn't respond? What if their gifts weren't enough? As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow over the fields, the villagers gathered to perform their rituals. They formed a circle in the heart of the fields, hands joined, creating a bridge of unity and hope. Ivan stood at the edge, his heart pounding, and watched as they began to dance. The movements were fluid and graceful, embodying the spirit of the land and the cycle of life. Suddenly, a gentle breeze swept through the fields, rustling the leaves and causing the wheat to sway. It felt as though the spirits were moving with them, joining in the dance. Ivan's heart leaped with joy, and he could almost hear the whispers of gratitude carried by the wind. In that moment, he understood the deep connection between the villagers and the harvest spirits. It was not just about asking for favors, it was about honoring the bond they shared with the earth. As the dance continued, Ivan felt a surge of courage. He stepped forward, breaking the circle. "I want to make an offering," he called out, his voice shaking but resolute. The villagers turned to him, surprised, but there was a glimmer of pride in their eyes. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small loaf of bread, carefully baked with love. It was his gift to the spirits, a symbol of his respect and gratitude. "I want them to know we care," he said, holding the bread high. "We honor them for what they give us." With a nod of approval, the villagers gathered around him. Together, they placed the bread at the edge of the field, the offering resting upon the soil that had nourished their crops. As they did, Ivan felt a warm glow in his chest, a sense of peace washing over him. Later, as the festival drew to a close, the villagers feasted under the starry sky. Laughter and stories filled the air, and Ivan felt a profound sense of belonging. He realized that the harvest spirits were not just distant entities, they were intertwined with their lives, their struggles, and their joys. The spirits were protectors, yes, but also companions in the journey of life. That night, as Ivan lay in bed, he thought about the spirits and the offerings they had made. He closed his eyes, a smile on his face, knowing that the next day would bring new challenges. But he felt a deep comfort in the belief that they were not alone. The spirits would be there, watching over them, guiding them, and sharing in their harvest, be it good or bad. In the days that followed, the villagers worked the fields with renewed vigor. They tended to the crops with love and care, always mindful of the spirits who protected them. As they watched the fruits of their labor grow, they also cherished the connection they had forged with the harvest spirits, knowing that each ear of corn, each ripe fruit, was a testament to their bond with the earth and the unseen protectors of their fields. In their hearts, they knew that gratitude and respect would ensure that the harvest spirits would always watch over them, nurturing not just the crops but the spirit of community that bound them together. And as the seasons changed, so too would their stories, passed down through generations, celebrating the magic of the harvest and the spirits that protected it. The cold winter air was crisp and sharp, biting at the cheeks of everyone gathered in the village square. Yet, the chill was no match for the warmth of anticipation and excitement that pulsed through the crowd. It was the Serva festival, a time when tradition and celebration danced hand in hand. Among the festivities, one figure stood out, Serva, the masked spirit, a powerful presence of joy and purification. As dusk began to settle, a hush fell over the crowd, and the flickering lights of torches illuminated the faces of eager children and their families. The sound of drums echoed in the distance, steady and rhythmic, urging the villagers to come together in celebration. Serva was not just a figure of fun, he embodied the hopes and wishes of the people, bringing a sense of renewal as they prepared to welcome the coming year. Dressed in vibrant, handmade costumes adorned with bells and colorful fabrics, the performers took to the stage. Their masks, carefully crafted and often fearsome, represented various spirits and forces from nature. These masks were not mere decorations, they held stories, legends, and deep-rooted beliefs that spanned generations. When Serva appeared, it was as if the spirit of winter itself had come to life. His presence brought an electric energy that made the air tingle with excitement. Children, wide-eyed and filled with wonder, watched as Serva danced around the square, the sound of his bells ringing in harmony with the laughter and cheers of the villagers. His movements were wild and joyful, yet purposeful. Every step, every twirl was a reminder that life was to be celebrated, even in the coldest months of the year. Serva's dance was a cleansing ritual, a symbolic act of purification that washed away the hardships of the past and opened the door to fresh beginnings. As Serva moved through the crowd, he invited the villagers to join him. With outstretched hands, he encouraged them to participate in the dance, to let go of their worries and fears. Slowly, the villagers began to move, their laughter mingling with the sound of bells, creating a symphony of joy that echoed through the night. Young and old alike swayed together, each step a testament to their unity and resilience. In that moment, something magical happened. The weight of winter seemed to lift, and the warmth of community enveloped them. Families who had faced struggles came together, hand in hand, feeling the bonds of love and support that anchored them through even the darkest days. Serva was more than a spirit, he was a reminder that they were not alone, that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Among the crowd stood an elderly woman named Marta, her heart heavy with the losses of the past year. She had lost her husband, and the cold emptiness felt unbearable. But as she watched the revelry unfold, she felt a flicker of warmth in her chest. The laughter of children, the colorful masks, and the lively dance ignited a spark of hope within her. Serva moved closer, and for a brief moment, their eyes met through the mask. It was as if he could see her sorrow, and in that gaze, Marta felt understood. As the dance continued, she found herself smiling, allowing the rhythm to wash over her. With every twirl and every jingle of bells, she began to feel the heaviness lift. The spirit of Serva had a way of reminding her of the joy that still existed in the world, despite the pain she carried. The memories of her husband filled her heart, not with sorrow, but with warmth. He would have loved this moment, she thought, and a tear of joy trickled down her cheek. The festival reached its peak as Serva led a procession toward the village's central fire, a sacred spot where purification rituals took place. This was the heart of the celebration, where the flames danced and flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to sway in rhythm with the music. The villagers gathered around the fire, forming a circle, their faces illuminated by the warm glow. Serva took center stage, his voice resonating with power as he called upon the spirits of the past and present. He spoke words of encouragement, urging the villagers to release their fears and doubts into the flames. As he raised his hands, the crowd followed suit, and together they tossed small offerings, strips of cloth, handwritten notes, and symbolic tokens, into the fire. Each item represented a burden they wished to shed, a piece of their past they were ready to let go. Mara watched as the flames consumed the offerings, the fire crackling and popping as if it were alive. With every flicker of the flame, she felt her heart open a little more, releasing the weight she had carried for so long. In that moment, she understood the power of Serva, not just as a masked spirit, but as a vessel for healing and hope. The festival was a reminder that life, with all its challenges, was meant to be celebrated, and that even in grief, joy could be found. As the night wore on, the festivities continued, laughter mingling with the crackling fire. Villagers shared stories, reminiscing about the past and dreaming of the future. Serva moved through the crowd, his mask shimmering in the firelight, embodying the spirit of renewal and connection. He was a bridge between the past and the future, a reminder that together, they could overcome anything. The festival marked not only the end of one year, but the beginning of another. Serva represented the cycle of life, the dance of seasons, and the everlasting spirit of community. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, the villagers embraced one another, their hearts full of gratitude for the shared experience. Serva, with his joyous spirit and purifying presence, had woven them together in a tapestry of love and hope, creating a memory that would last long after the last dance. In the end, it was not just about the masks or the dances, it was about the connections forged, the burdens lifted, and the promise of new beginnings. Serva reminded them that they were all part of a larger story, one filled with challenges, triumphs, and a community that would always stand together. And as the sun rose on a new day, the villagers knew that the spirit of Serva would remain with them, a guardian of their hopes and dreams for the year ahead. In the dim light of a flickering fire, the villagers gathered close, their faces illuminated by the warm glow. The night was thick with stories, whispers of transformation and the haunting tales of those who once walked among them as humans but were forever changed. The air was heavy with anticipation, for these were not just stories, they were warnings, reminders of the delicate balance between humanity and the wild. As the storyteller began, his voice low and captivating, the children leaned in, eyes wide with wonder and a hint of fear. "Listen well," he said, "for this is the tale of a man named Nikolai. Once, he was a hunter, brave and strong, feared by the beasts of the forest. But beneath that strength lay a heart filled with greed. Nikolai was known throughout the village for his skill with a bow and arrow. Each year, he returned from the woods with game, boasting of his prowess. Yet, as time passed, the thrill of the hunt turned into something darker. He became obsessed with the idea of conquering every creature in the forest, believing it was his right as a man to rule over nature. His heart grew heavy with arrogance, blinding him to the beauty and harmony that surrounded him. One fateful evening, while wandering deeper into the woods than ever before, Nikolai stumbled upon a beautiful glade. In the center stood a magnificent stag, its antlers sprawling like branches of an ancient tree. The creature radiated a calm power, its eyes reflecting wisdom that surpassed human understanding. In that moment, Nikolai felt an overwhelming urge to prove his strength. Without a second thought, he raised his bow, intent on taking down the noble beast. But just as he was about to release the arrow, the stag spoke, its voice resonating like a soft breeze through the leaves. "You seek to harm me, brave hunter, but know this, I am not merely a creature of the forest. I am a guardian of balance, a protector of all that lives. You may conquer me today, but your greed will be your downfall." Nikolai scoffed at the stag's words, dismissing them as the ramblings of a dying creature. In his arrogance, he released the arrow, striking true. But the moment the stag fell, a dark shadow enveloped Nikolai. The ground shook, and the air crackled with magic. Suddenly, the hunter felt his body convulsing, a painful transformation unfolding before him. Fur sprouted from his skin, and his bones twisted and contorted. In moments, the proud hunter was gone, replaced by a massive wolf, eyes gleaming with a mix of confusion and terror. The wolf, once Nikolai, howled into the night, a cry that echoed through the forest. It was a sound of anguish, a lament for the humanity he had lost. As he roamed the woods, he quickly learned the harsh truths of the wild. No longer did he command respect. Instead, he was hunted by those he once sought to control. His days became a struggle for survival, where every moment was a reminder of his hubris. As weeks turned into months, Nikolai discovered the intricacies of life as a beast. He felt the thrill of the chase, the raw power coursing through his new form. Yet, with each kill, the echo of his lost humanity haunted him. He could no longer enjoy the warmth of a fire or the comfort of a home. The laughter of children and the sweet smell of bread baking became distant memories, replaced by the harsh reality of the forest. In his quest for power, he had lost everything he once cherished. One crisp night, as the moon hung full and bright in the sky, Nikolai found himself drawn to the glade where he had first encountered the stag. There, among the trees, he saw a flicker of light, a gathering of creatures celebrating life under the moonlight. They danced with joy, their forms shifting and shimmering like shadows in the night. He felt a pull toward them, a longing to connect with the world he had abandoned. Yet, he stood apart, a silent observer cloaked in fur. The laughter and music were like a balm to his soul, reminding him of the warmth of human connection. But in the shadows of the trees, he heard a whisper, soft yet powerful. To join them, you must first seek forgiveness. Nikolai's heart sank as he realized the truth. His transformation was a reflection of his actions, a punishment for the greed that had consumed him. But deep inside, he felt a flicker of hope. If he could find a way to redeem himself, perhaps he could regain his humanity. With newfound determination, Nikolai began to change his ways. He no longer hunted for pleasure or pride. Instead, he protected the creatures of the forest, helping them find food and shelter. The more he showed kindness to others, the lighter he felt. Slowly, he learned the language of the wild, understanding the delicate balance of life and death. Seasons passed, and the wolf that was once Nikolai became a protector of the forest. Yet, the longing for his former life remained. He yearned to see the faces of his family, to feel the warmth of their embrace once more. One fateful night, as he gazed at the stars, a familiar voice echoed in the wind. It was the stag, its majestic form appearing before him once again. "You have changed, brave hunter. You have learned the lessons of humility and respect," the stag said, its eyes glowing with approval. "Now, it is time for you to reclaim your humanity." With that, the stag reached out, touching its antlers to Nikolai's brow. In an instant, a wave of warmth washed over him, and he felt his body shifting once again. Painful yet exhilarating, the transformation unfolded, bringing him back to the form he had once known. As the last remnants of the wolf faded, Nikolai stood there, a man reborn. Yet, this time, he was different. He carried with him the weight of experience and wisdom. The villagers welcomed him back with open arms, unaware of the trials he had faced. But Nikolai knew he could never return to his old ways. He had witnessed the wild, felt its pulse, and learned that true strength lies not in domination but in harmony. From that day forward, he shared his story with others, teaching them the importance of respect for nature and the consequences of their actions. His transformation served as a powerful reminder that we are all connected, humans and beasts alike. Through his journey, he learned that while we may sometimes stray from the path, redemption is always within reach, waiting to be embraced with an open heart. As the fires burned brightly in the village square, the children listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder. They learned that the tales of transformation were not just stories, they were lessons wrapped in folklore, urging them to cherish their humanity and protect the world around them. And so, the legend of Nikolai lived on, a timeless reminder of the beauty of change and the power of compassion. In the quiet corners of Bulgaria, where the mountains rise high and the rivers flow like whispers of ancient stories, the echoes of mythical creatures linger in the hearts of its people. These creatures, once thought to roam the forests and fields, still influence the everyday lives of Bulgarians, weaving their magic into the fabric of culture and tradition. Their stories, rich with lessons and emotions, remind us of the deep connections we share with nature, our ancestors, and one another. From the haunting lullabies of the Nevostolka, the bridal ghost, to the protective presence of the harvest spirits, each being has left its mark. These creatures symbolize more than just folklore. They embody the hopes, fears, and aspirations of a nation that values its history. In every village and town, you can hear the elders recount tales by the fireside, their voices trembling with emotion as they bring these characters to life. Children sit wide-eyed, their imaginations sparked by stories of the Mara, the nightmare spirit, and the midnight fae who dance under the moonlight. These stories have transcended time, becoming part of festivals that celebrate life, death, and the changing seasons. During the Serva festival, for instance, the masked spirit known as Serva takes center stage, symbolizing purification and renewal. As people don vibrant costumes and masks, they connect with the past, honoring the spirits that watch over them and seeking blessings for the year to come. Each dance, each song, resonates with the pulse of tradition, reminding everyone of their roots. The tales of transformation, humans becoming beasts, serve as poignant reminders of our choices and their consequences. Through these narratives, Bulgarians learn valuable lessons about respect, humility, and the delicate balance of nature. When they gather in circles, sharing these age-old legends, they not only preserve the stories but also reinforce the importance of moral values within their communities. In a world that often feels disconnected, these tales remind them of their shared humanity. The fascination with these mythical beings extends beyond oral traditions. They inspire art, music, and literature. Artists capture the essence of these creatures in paintings, sculptures, and crafts, turning folklore into tangible expressions of culture. Musicians weave melodies that echo the whispers of the forest, bringing to life the spirit of the Castia rusalka, the water spirit, as they celebrate the connection between the land and its people. Writers pen down stories, bridging the gap between the past and present, ensuring that these legends live on for future generations. In modern Bulgaria, the legacy of these mythical creatures continues to thrive. Festivals celebrating folklore attract tourists and locals alike, providing a sense of belonging and unity. Families share stories around dinner tables, passing down the tales from grandparents to grandchildren, ensuring that the essence of these beings remains alive. Even in the age of technology, where screens often overshadow real-life connections, the power of storytelling persists. The tales remind them of simpler times, grounding them in a world that can sometimes feel overwhelming. Schools incorporate these legends into their curriculum, instilling a sense of pride in young hearts. Children learn about the daughters of Baba Marta, spirits of spring, who embody the warmth and renewal that comes with the changing seasons. They understand that these stories are not just for entertainment, they hold wisdom and teachings that are crucial to their cultural identity. The younger generation learns to appreciate the world around them, fostering a sense of responsibility towards nature and the community. In every corner of Bulgaria, the influence of these mythical creatures can be felt in the rhythms of life. The farmers whisper their thanks to the harvest spirits as they tend to their fields, while the youth gather to hear the tales of the shadow folk, the hidden people, reminding them of the mysteries that still exist in the world. Each story carries with it a thread of connection, binding the past to the present, ensuring that the wisdom of the ancestors is not forgotten. As night falls and the stars twinkle like the eyes of the daughters of Baba Marta, the villagers find comfort in the familiar tales. They remember that they are part of a larger narrative, woven together by the dreams and fears of those who came before them. The creatures of Bulgarian folklore are not just relics of the past, they are living, breathing entities that continue to shape the culture and identity of the people. In this way, the enduring legacy of Bulgarian mythical creatures becomes a beacon of hope, resilience, and community. Through storytelling, art, and celebration, the essence of these beings lives on, teaching generations the importance of connection, respect, and the beauty of the world around them. The heart of Bulgaria beats with the rhythm of its myths, reminding everyone that they are part of something greater, a story that will continue to unfold as long as there are those willing to share it.